Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. His brother Raya want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God Yahweh, Bahashima Mashiach, Malak Yahushua. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that go out there and labor on the highways and byways, making their body living sacrifice. In the rain, the tumults, the demons, the uprises, the uproars, they're out there standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong shalom to all that are mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but they're building themselves up. Reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they could do to put themselves in a position to shake the hand, to wake up the hopeful elect. Another strong shalom to all that are mighty aquaf in this thing, right? Sincerely reverencing their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, being quiet, shamefaced, submissive, loving, steadfast, cooking, sewing, cleaning, doing all of the righteous acts for our foremothers, on fire for the Lord. Another strong shalom to all that are mighty aquaf that are not married as of yet, but they're building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they can do to magnify the Most High in the ministry. And another strong shalom to all that are mighty children in this thing, abstaining from all lust, concupiscence, and peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the Lord. And last but not least, another strong shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they could do to magnify the Most High, His beloved Son Yahawashi. Right, this is going to be an in-depth breakdown on the 12 apostles, right? And we're going to dive straight into it, right? We're going to dive straight into it. Let's go to the mighty book of Ephesians. Let's go to Ephesians, the first chapter. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 1 and verse number 4. It says, according as he had chosen us in him before the foundation of the world. So the 12 were chosen way before the foundation of the world. See, a lot of people think the world was created and the Most High just say, you know what, it's empty. That's make man. No, the Most High had all of us, Most High willing, in the palm of his hand from the very foundation of the earth. See, the first creation the Most High made was Yahawashi HaMashiach and the elect. See, the elect are in the palm of the Most High's hands. Nothing can take, destroy, manipulate, overthrow through sorcery or anything to elect. Because even though they may have been martyred, killed, manipulated against, stoned, right, railed, scoffed at, those men are chosen men in the Most High's hands. It says that we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us. See, that's a deep word, predestination. See, a lot of people, doesn't matter how many times you go off, the Most High still chose you. Peter went off, man. Peter tried to rebuke the Lord, be it not so, right? What do you mean? Not you, Lord. The Lord rebuked him, man. Get thee behind me, Satan. Peter denied the Lord thrice, man. Right? Paul had to rebuke Peter. Peter stumbled a couple times in this thing, man. But no matter how many times he stumbled, he's the elect, man. How many times have you went off? Have you tripped? Have you failed? Have you done God knows what in the dark? Smoke upon your chest, looked up to the third heaven with grace and mercy from the Most High, bestowed and poured upon you. You raised right back up, 7 times stronger than you were, shaking the hand, prophesied and reading, praying and fasting, calling and counseling, stronger than you ever did before. Why? On the deepest level, you're predestinated to do this, man. I mean, how could you not? You're a consuming fire made in the image of the Most High, man. It says, having predestinated us unto the adoption of the children by Yahawashi, right? Hamashiach to himself, according, right, to the good pleasure of his will. Let's go to the mighty book of John. Right, we're going to dive in depth on the 12, right? Where they were raised at, who these men are, their fathers, their lot, their names in the Greek. Right, we want to dive in depthly how these men gave up the ghost, how they died, how they fell asleep, right? Their spirits, right? Their rank. We want to touch on all of this through the spirit, right? This is the book of John, chapter 6, in verse 44. It says, no man could come unto me except the Father, right, which have sent me, draw him, right? And I may ruffle a couple feathers when I say this, but it is what it is, man. You're not in the truth if you're not calling on the true name of the Most High. There is no Yahushua. There is no Yahshua. Just because you know that you're an Israelite, you wear fringes and keep the law, but you're calling on another God, does not mean you're in the name of the truth. There's one Father. There's one name. There's not many names. There's many titles of the Heavenly Father, and the beloved son Yahawashi. But if you don't even know his name, how could you call on him in distress, trouble, tribulation? Who's really drawing you, man? Satan covers himself as an angel of light. You're going to have many sets, many different men, just like it was in the ancient world. You had Pharisees, Essenes, right? You had the zealots, right? You had the Sadducees. You had many men that knew that were Israelites, but just because you know you're an Israelite or you keep a couple commandments doesn't mean you're in the truth. It says, no man could come to me except the Father which have sent me draw him. So Yahawashi has to draw you, man. And I will raise him up at the last day. Who were literally handpicked and called the 12. They were drawn by Yahawashi himself. See, that's spiritual on a physical level. See, we would draw it up, through the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, through visions and dreams, revelations. Certain brothers just knew it was something about that name. I remember the first time I heard the name Yahawashi, man. Right when I was first coming into the truth, I think I had some type of NIV or I had something, and it had like a prefix of his name as it went to like each chapter's so called in the Hebrew, and they say Yahashua, something like that, something to that effect. It didn't sit well with me, man. My spirit didn't. Something about that name, I never supped with it. Yahweh never supped with me, man. God never supped with me. Right? These words never really supped with my spirit. And when I heard the name Yahawashi, it's like my spirit leaped out my body, man. Like when you finally been thinking of that precept all day and it come to you. When you finally get the reasoning of what you've been studying for all this time, it's manifest, man. And the Lord don't manifest his name to everybody. Some people can't see that that's his name. Some people can't see that they're Israelites. Certain people can't see simple things that a lot of other brothers can see. And not only can they see that, but they can see past that. See, the Most High is enlightening their eyes. Right? And the 12 were chosen and drawn, right, by our King Yahawashi. Let's go to the mighty book, right? And we're going to dive straight into it. Wait, matter of fact, before I get that, I'm going to touch on, and this is not in order, by any means, whatever the case may be, but I want to touch on the 12. Now, this is Andrew. I want to touch on Andrew through the Spirit. Now, Andrew was born, right, at Bethsaida, right, when you go through it. Right, a large amount of the apostles were born in Bethsaida, right, in Galilee. Right, let's go to the mighty book of Matthew, the 4th chapter. See, and the 12, a lot of them, like I said, they were born in Galilee. Some weren't. This is the book of Matthew, but they were on fire for the Lord. And a lot of them were in the truth seeking, right, Yahawashi before Yahawashi was made manifest. This is the book of Mark, chapter 4, and verse number 18. It says, and Yahawashi, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, right? They were brothers, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he said unto them, follow me, for I will make you fishers of men. Right? The Lord never gave them a resume, man. See, the Lord never said, well, this is who I am. It's made manifest. Do you see the thunders from on high? Right? The Lord never came in a chariot. He never came upon horse. See, the Lord didn't do anything for them to believe. See, certain things in your spirit, you believe, man. You don't need an explanation, man. I've never seen an angel. Right? We haven't seen Abraham physically, man. Certain things you read, some people say, well, who wrote that book? And the Lord wrote the book. Right? And great was the company that published it, man. The Most High wrote these things via the hand of the prophets. See, certain spirits, right, people follow without even trying. They cleave to wickedness, man. Right? Every beast resort to his like it's saying Sirach. So these men through the Spirit, as they were casting their nets, right, upon the sea, and the Lord said, follow me. And they straightway left their nets, man. See, it don't take the elect a long time to come into this truth. I know a lot of people, they're working on their 3rd year. Yeah, you right. I know I'm an Israelite, man. I mean, at work, it's literally this brother that comes into my job. He's a customer, right? When I, do my thing out and about, I see this brother. And when I see him, he always say, what's up with them Israelites, man? And he laugh like it's a joke. I don't know if he recognized me, if he know me, if he seen my fringes. He said, yeah, man, yeah, I know about them Israelites. I mean, week after week, month after month, to the point where it starts to get irritating, man. You see certain people, what's your nationality? Judah. I'm a Hebrew. I'm an Israelite. Certain your family, they know who they are, but they're still holding on to their nets, man. Those things of the world. See, straightway they left their nets, meaning they dropped it. You have to drop all and walk and run and cleave unto Yahawashi Yahawashi. It says, and followed him, meaning immediately Andrew was on fire, man. Right? Immediately, Andrew's spirit leaped when he found the Lord. And Andrew was looking for the Lord, and his spirit was cleaving until the Lord, even during the book of John. Let's go to John chapter 1. Now, Andrew was an apostle of John, you understand, and then he found the Lord. Let's go to the book, right, of John, right? Let's go to John chapter 1 and verse 35. It says, again, the next day after John stood and two of his disciples. So John had disciples, man, right? It says, and looking upon Yahawashi as he walked, he said, behold, the Lamb of God. So John, through the Spirit, recognized that that was Yahawashi. And the two disciples heard him speak, and they followed Yahawashi. So immediately they start to follow the Lord. Then Yahawashi turned and saw them following and said unto them, what seek ye? See, a lot of people seek the Lord for money, right? Just for salvation, right? They live a life of wickedness and they don't want to be burned in fire, right? And go to hell, right? Even though these things don't exist in the underworld, right? They think that just because they live a life of wickedness, they could walk down the aisle at any given second and get their life to Jesus. And the Lord said, what seek ye? They said unto him, Rabbi, right, master, which is to be interpreted, master, where dwellest thou? And that's the same spirit of Song of Solomon, the first chapter, man. Wilt thou make thy flocks to rest? Where dwellest thou? Where do I go? What do I do? Certain people say they want to find the Lord so bad. Well, what are you doing to get him, man? What feats are you going? See, certain people would do God knows what, catch 3 buses to get that job. Certain people would do whatever it takes to go to their father's funeral or raise the money. Or they'll go throughout these crazy feats to save your daughter, right? That's in trouble. But where dwellest thou? What are you doing to get to the Most High? It says, he said for to them, come and see. They came and saw where he dwelt and abode with him that day. It says, for it was about the 10th hour. One of the two which heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, man. So Andrew, he dropped everything. He dropped his nets. He dropped what he was doing. He asked Yahawashi, where dwellest thou? These are the spirits of the elect that Yahawashi has called near unto him. You want to know the attributes of these men? Yeah, we have Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Noah, Ezekiel, Daniel. You have all these great mighty men and prophets. But what about the 12, man? It was something about the 12 that the Lord formed from the foundation of the earth to be close and near unto him, man. Their spirits, their verbiage, and the way they moved, right? We have to examine, right? Let's go to the mighty book of Mark, the first chapter. Now, Andrew and Peter were very close when you read the Gospels, man. And they lived together, right? This is the book of Mark, chapter 1, and verse number 25, right? I'm going to start at 29. It says, and forthwith, when they were come out of the synagogue, they entered into the house of Simon and Andrew. So Simon and Peter, they was close, right? A lot of brothers, they hate one another, man, right? They moving out. They had odds, right? They're beefing. Who knows the most knowledge? It's a lot of hatred within your own community, man, right? Cousins hate cousins, right? Little brother hate older sister, and they love one another. That's a beautiful spirit to have, that these men, they clave to the truth and they live once another. It says, and so like it with John, James, and John. But Simon's wife, mother, lay sick of a fever. Right now, Simon, right, which is Peter, he was poor. You can read about that in Acts, the first chapter. And a lot of people that have roommates, right? Even to this very day, you may live with your uncle, you may live with your little brother, you may live, with your wife, and she may have a part-time. Things are rough. It says, but Simon's wife, mother, lay sick of a fever, and anointed tell him of her, right? And I'm gonna drop it right there. I just want to get that point that these men, they were close, man. right? Actually, Simon called Peter into this thing, right? Even though Peter already knew the law and the truth, but he drew him to Yahawashi. And that's a beautiful spirit to have, man. You want your brother to draw you and help you and lift you. Right, let's go to the book, right, of Mark, the 13th chapter. Right, this is Mark chapter 13. And Simon's name in the Greek means manly. So Simon wasn't nothing to play with, man. Salakia, Andrew, Salakia. Andrew wasn't nothing to play with, man. Right, his name in the Greek is manly. You know, whatever that may be of the attributes and spirit he moved in, man. He wasn't a soft man. You can't be a soft man to hang with the Lord, man. Peter chopped off Malcolm's ear. They was walking around strapped. Uh, Andrew's name is manly, right? And they were close and knit, right? The Lord didn't call men that were feeble. They didn't know what to do. They were biting their nails and looking up at the clouds and wondering when the sun was going to set. It's the book of Mark, chapter 13, and verse 1. It says, and as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples said unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings here. And Yahawashi answering said unto him, what seest thou, great buildings? Right, talking about the temple. There shall not be left one stone upon another. Talking about the siege, right, in Jerusalem, from 66 AD to 70 AD. That shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount Olives over against the temple, Peter and James and John and Andrew, man. So often you will see Peter, James, and John, or Peter, John, James, or James, Peter, and John. It's synonymous with one another. And when the 12 are mentioned, you will see Andrew right after. As if it's going in the rank of Peter, James, John, these men being the pillars of the church, and right under them is Andrew. You can read about that in Acts, the first chapter, verse 13, I believe. Let me get that real fast. So you'll see it synonymously named that way. It says, this 13, and when they would come in, they went into the upper room where abode Peter, James, and John, and Andrew. So Andrew was right behind, man. He had to be one of the chiefest apostles, right? Even though you had the main three, which the Lord held dear, man. Everybody couldn't follow the Lord, right? Let me get back to that. It says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives over against the temple, Peter and James and John and Andrew asked him privately, man. Now, that's not to say the other, disciples and apostles didn't want to know these things, but to be right there where the Lord is expounding, seeing these great things, that's spiritual. It's certain times that you'll be with a brother and a brother was like, oh, you see that chariot? Look at that chariot right there. Then it'll be three brothers that see it. Then another brother comes stumbling along after blowing his nose, man. And he said, what are you looking at? And then you'll look up. Ah, it just left. You see it? Then the brother missed the chariot. That don't mean the brother wicked or off. It just wasn't of the Most High for him to see certain things, hear certain things. See, certain people are at the right place at the right time. They get the right understanding. Right? The Most High gives them that opportunity to see and hear unspeakable things that other people can't. And Andrew was one of those men, man. It says, tell us, when shall these things be? So he had an earnest mind and spirit of prophecy. And what shall be the signs of all these things, right, that should be fulfilled? Right, let me get this real quick. Right? So you had, right, the apostle Andrew, right? How did he die? Andrew was covered, right? For the multiples to Christianity, right, which is the truth, right, throughout the Mediterranean, meaning he traveled. He was truly an apostle, man. You can't be an apostle if you just stay in your neighboring city. It's okay to travel. See, brothers are scared of traveling. They spend their money on shoes, chains, taking a woman out on fancy dates. They buying all these bottles. You spend your money how you want to spend your money, man. See, you got a brother that makes, let's say, $20 an hour, 25, 30, whatever the case may be. He has 2 kids, 3 kids. The way he spends his money is for his family and everything's covered. But do you have another brother? He doesn't have any children. But he's buying this, he's buying that, he's buying this, he's buying that. From the outside looking in, it may appear he has money. So how you spend your money says everything. You can see a brother having this, having that, but when it's time to do the work of the Most High, give alms, do anything spiritual, you're never there, right? It says, including the wife of a Roman. Right, let me get down to the point. Right, it says, in southern Greece, the governor turned in, immediately ordered Andrew to be scourged and then crucified, man. Right, so he was crucified on an X-shaped cross. Right, let me get that real fast. So the apostle Andrew, he faced a horrible death, man. A horrible death. Right? Got scourged, got beat. And that was the Roman thing to do, man. Right? That was the maximum torture. A cross. You had certain Roman citizens and other men that got, right, the luxury of being beheaded, but, Andrew, not so. Right? And I often think about maybe too much crucifixions, man, and death and scourging and torture. Whenever I see a movie, I read the scriptures. I mean, these are these men's lots, man. If you're walking in this truth, you can't just think that you're going to see all good and no evil, man. Right? You can't think that this truth is just going to all be about you getting on a so-called white man. There are thousands of precepts on Esau coming to destroy the saints, being a raging wild beast, man. Right? Coming to destroy, right, the abomination. Right, to kill and manipulate, break down all the children of Israel. Didn't I just say it made war with the saints, man? Let me get this quick precept. So Andrew, just like, all of the apostles, save one, John, right, the beloved, they were crucified. They were murdered. They were martyred. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 12, right? And I'm going to start at verse number 15. And the serpent cast out of her mouth waters as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried the way of the flood, man. To be what? Destroyed, killed. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 11. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 11, and I'm going to start at verse 8. And their dead bodies. I'm going to start at 7. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, just like the Roman Empire, just like the daughter of Babylon. It says, and shall overcome them and kill them. So just because you don't get delivered or saved or suffer some great feat of salvation like your mind thinks does not mean that the Lord departed from you. This may be your lot, man. So, I mean, Andrew was on fire for the Most High, right? Born and raised in Bethsaida, right? Brother to Simon Peter, on fire for the Lord, helped draw Peter into this thing to see Yahawashi, right? Was one of them named right under the pillars of the church, right? We're going to dive into the next apostle. So you have James. So you have James the Lesser, which is one of the 12. You have James the Greater, right? James the Lesser, the son of Alphaeus. You have James the Greater, right? The son of Zebedee. And then you have James, the Lord's brother. So sometimes when you see James in the scriptures, you have to have keen sense of context and understanding to see which James it is. You may have many popular names like Joshua, Hosea, Yahawashi. It's all saying the same thing of salvation. Same thing, you had a lot of Jameses and Johns in the scriptures. So you had James the Lesser. Now they say he was the lesser because he was the younger of John, right? Let's get it real fast. So like you're younger. Want to clarify that. It says to distinguish him from the apostle James the Great, also called James the Elder, right? Sons of Thunder, with the less, meaning younger or shorter, rather than less important, right? So they would say, when you go into it, that he was a young man. But being a young man, he was on fire, man. See, a lot of these men, it doesn't matter how tall you was, how young you was. Mark was young in the Gospels, man, right? Some scholars would say he was around 14, 17, around that age. Some may say older, some may say younger, depending on the link and resource that you're going to. But a lot of these men, they were young, but they followed the Lord, man. Right? It says, yes, James the Lesser was it younger than the other James in the Bible. So you have James the Lesser, right? Let me get this real fast. And his name in the Greek means supplanter, right? Let's get this quick precept. Let's go to Mark. And one thing about James the Lesser is he had a beautiful mother that was on fire for the Most High. Her spirit was beautiful, man. So when you read the Gospels, a lot of the times you'll see Mary. You have many Marys. And one of the Marys that were mentioned during the crucifixion of our Lord Yahawashi, that was there witnessing, that helped with the Lord, that was with all of them ministering to him, that was James the Lesser's mother, man. So these men were raised by pivotal women. Look at Timothy, right? Dorcas and Eunice. Let me get this real quick. I'm gonna get this quick precept, and then I'm gonna dive straight into that. Right, this is the mighty book, right, of 2 Timothy, right, chapter 1 and verse 5. It says, when I call to remembrance the unfeigned faith that is in thee, which dwelt first in thy grandmother Lois and thy mother Eunice, and I am persuaded that in thee also. So you had Mary, the mother of Yahawashi, she raised them on fire. You had Elizabeth, the mother of John, raised him on fire. Timothy, right? You had Lois and Eunice, which were great mothers. You also had James the Lesser's mother. She was on fire for the Lord. So the women are standing up, raising their children in righteousness, like it says in Titus, man, the 2nd chapter. Let's go to the mighty book of Mark, chapter 15. All right. It's Mark chapter 15, and I'm going to start at verse number 39. And when the centurion, right, which stood over against him, saw that he cried out and gave up the ghost, he said, truly this man was the Son of God. There were also women looking on afar off, among whom was Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James the Less, and Joses and Simon. Right, so his mother was there, man. She had a lot of great support, right, when you read the scriptures. Let's go to the book of Mark, chapter 16 and verse 1. And there's not a lot written on this man, but not to take away from the spirit he possessed. Let's go to Mark, chapter 16 and verse 1. And when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Simon had brought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him. So a lot of the Gospels, it was family, right? You had Yahawashi's mother, Yahawashi. You had Andrew, you had Peter. You had Mary, you had the mother that was mother of James. Right? A lot of them were related that did the work of the Most High. And that's spiritual as well, man. Right? It's not too many families that's rooted in this truth right now. Everyone's hating one another, they're divided. And the Lord came to sow division, like you read about in the book of Matthew, the 10th chapter, man. Right? Get this real quick. So James, right? All right, we jumping the gun. Right, here we go. Right, it says that James the Less was thrown from the pinnacle of the temple. When you go into certain scholars and certain men, they'll say the same place where Satan drove Yahawashi, that same pinnacle. It says thrown from the pinnacle of the temple, stoned and beaten to death with a fuller's club, man. So he suffered a gruesome death, man. Let me look that up real fast. A fuller's club. So they had a lot of torture weapons in the Gospels, man. This wasn't your average police baton, man. This thing had spikes, bones, whips, broken glass, spikes, iron. And it was made to rip your flesh out of your body, man. I could be wrong, but I'm led to believe this bat at least weighs 7 pounds. You know, it had to be solid wood, man. This isn't, your fake Home Depot 2x4s. They got these things out of wood logs and wrapped chains and spikes around them, man. So after being thrown off the pinnacle, maybe suffering internal bleeding, broken bones, or God knows worse, right? He was also stoned and beaten with a fuller's club. So this man died in the Lord on fire for Yahawashi Yahawashi. You also had Bartholomew, man, right? Which is synonymous with Nathanael, right? You have Bartholomew. I'm gonna get this real fast. Now, when you go into it, right? Let's get it. Let's go to the mighty book of John. Chapter 1, and I'm going to start at verse 43. Right, and it reads, the day following Yahawashi will go forth into Galilee and find the Philip and said unto him, follow me. And that's what the Lord do, man. He walks by, as you see when you read the scriptures, the gospels, and he says, follow me, follow me, follow me. And there's really no in-depth breakdown of these men pondering and twiddling. These men immediately drop everything. They follow the Lord, man. Now, Philip was of Bethsaida, right? The city of Andrew and Peter, right? Like I said, a lot of the apostles were raised in Galilee. Philip findeth Nathanael, right? And saith unto him, we have found him of whom Moses and the law and the prophets did write, Yahawashi of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And Nathanael said unto him, can there any good thing come out of Nazareth, man? Nazareth was poor. It was filthy, right? That would be your modern day hoods, man. When you go into the history of how Nazareth was, nobody wanted to live there, man. Right? I mean, you probably go to, wherever hood you from or whatever state you from, the ghetto, man, the trenches, the block. You got people shooting dice, robbing one another, trying to set you up. They always watching your house, right? That's Nazareth. Philip saith unto him, come and see. Yahawashi saw Nathanael coming to him and saith of him, behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile, man. That's a mighty thing for Yahawashi to say to any man walking this earth, man. Whom is no guile, meaning what? The no guile is him calling him the elect. Because the 144,000 don't have any guile found within their mouths. Because they are blameless before the Lamb, man. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 14. That's not meaning you never went off, never said anything uncomely, not seasoned with salt. That means you are purged, like it says in Isaiah, the 6th chapter, with the coal, right? And you can't sin, man. Like it says in 1 John, the 1st chapter, right? He that know me, paraphrasing greatly, don't sin. Don't. Let me get that real fast. Thinking of too many precepts. Right? Let me get that real fast. Certain men, when they fall short, they repent and they're clean right back again. So it's as if they never fall, because Yahawashi is always lifting them up. Let's go to 1 John, the 3rd chapter. Let's get that. It's 1 John, right? Chapter 3 and verse number 8, right? I'm going to start at 6. Whosoever abideth in him sinneth not. Whosoever sinneth have not seen him, neither known him. It's not saying if you sin ever, you don't know the Most High. It's not what this is saying. Whosoever abideth in him. Abideth meaning to what? To stay. Meaning you never digress. You never fall back. See, certain people sin, they feel bad, and maybe this truth isn't for me, man. Yeah, I'm going to go back in the world. Or they don't repent for it. Because how can I pray to the Most High? I'm so evil, man. He will never hear a prayer of a sinner like me. No, if you abide in those footsteps, even though you fall, you sinneth not, man. Why? Because he purges you. Right? Let me get this real quick in Isaiah. And I'm going to dive right back into it. The 6th chapter. This is Isaiah chapter 6, right? In verse number 2. Above it stood the cherubims, right? This is the vision Isaiah is having in the third heaven. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain did he fly. And one cried unto another and said, holy, 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 right? Is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the post of the door moved at the voice of him that cried. The house was full of smoke. Then said I, woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, man. So Isaiah knew he was a mortal man. He knew he was in sin. He knew he was unclean in the things he spoke. See, Nathanael, these men, everybody fell short from the glory of the Most High, man. Romans 3 and 10. But the spirit of Yahawashi's mercy, as you abide in him, purges your unclean lips, man. It makes you to speak righteousness at all times. It says unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the cherubims unto me, having a live coal in his hand. So is it Isaiah's righteousness or is it the Most High's mercy? It's the Most High's mercy because he recognizes unclean lips. So when Yahawashi calls Nathanael without blemish, and no guile, which is without blemish, with the precept in Revelation the 14th chapter, that's because of his mercy. Men are predestinated to be the elect. It says having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken from the tongues of the altar, and he laid it upon my mouth. That's spiritual. And said, Lo, this have touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Let me go back to it. Let's go back. Let me get this real quick in Revelation. It's Revelation chapter 14 and verse 4. These are they which were not defiled with women, right? Philosophies and doctrines and nations. For they are virgins, right? Meaning they're spotless and blameless. They have practiced chastity, right? Spiritually, from abstaining from everything but their awaited king and husband. These are they which follow the Lamb whatsoever he goeth. That's spiritual, because immediately when Yahawashi say, follow me, what did these men do? They dropped everything and they followed him. Asked no questions, seen no resume. He didn't have to speak the Latin, the Greek, the Hebrew, or the Aramaic. It said these were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto Yahweh and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, man. So the elect has no guile in their mouth, man. There are perfect men walking this earth. There are perfect men right now, man. Job was perfect. Noah was perfect, man. Because I found thee righteous before me in this generation. The book of Genesis, chapter 7 and verse 1. So these men, right, Yahweh saw him, and look, he called them. And he's not calling all men. Right? This is John chapter 1, right? And verse number 47. Yahweh saw Nathanael coming to him and said unto him, Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile. Nathanael saith unto him, Whence knowest thou me? Meaning, what do you mean? Yahweh answered and said unto him, Before that Philip called thee, meaning before just now, when thou was under the fig tree, I saw thee, man. So when it says, I saw thee under the fig tree, what does that mean, man? Or what does it mean he saw him under the fig tree? Let me get a quick precept. See, often the tree is protection. The tree is symbolic of Yahweh, right? He saw him always abiding under him from the foundation of the earth. That's what that's saying. Let me get a quick precept. Thinking of too many. Let me get Ezekiel. Let me get that quick precept. Right, this is the mighty book of Ezekiel, right, chapter 17. Right. And I'm gonna start at verse number 22. It says, Thus saith the Lord, I will also take of the highest branch of the cedar. Right now, the cedar and a branch will be a man or a man of high stature out of a tree. Right, meaning the kingdom or people. It says, And I will set it, and I will crop off the young tops of his young twigs, a tender one. Right, talking about Yahawashi, and plant it upon an high mountain, talking about Israel, and Emnaton. And in the mountain of the height of Israel will I plant it, and it shall bring forth balls, right? Meaning shade and leaves, and bear fruit, and be a goodly cedar. And under it shall dwell all fowl of every winged, and the shadow of the branches shall they dwell. So men are going to dwell under the shadow and pavilion and protection of Yahweh Shai. Let's go to the book of Song of Solomon, right? As a matter of fact, let's go to Zechariah. Zechariah, the 3rd chapter. This is Zechariah chapter 3, right? And I'm going to start at verse, let me see what I want. This whole thing is fire. So like I'm in Zephaniah. Get Zechariah chapter 3. right? It's Zechariah chapter 3, and I'm going to start at verse number 8, right? It says, Hear now, O Joshua high priest, thou and thy fellows that sit before thee, for they are men wondered at. For behold, I will bring forth my servant, the branch. For behold, the stone, right, that I have laid before Joshua, upon one stone should be 7 eyes. Behold, I will engrave the engraving thereof, saith the Lord of hosts. Right, the engraving upon the stone. The stone is Yahawashi, the branch is Yahawashi. It says, and I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day. So who's known as the branch? Right? Who's known as the tree? Who's known as the pavilion? Yahawashi. Let me get one more real fast. In Song of Solomon. Right, the 2nd chapter. The Song of Solomon, chapter 1, Shalaki, chapter 2, and verse 2. As the lily among thorns, the lily are the elect of Israel, the thorns are the other nations. So is my love among the daughters. Meaning you have one true love. The love is Israel. The daughters are the daughters of men. You have many nations. As the apple tree among the trees of wood, so is my beloved among the sons. I sat down under his shadow, right? With great delight, and his fruit was sweet to my taste. So whose fruit is sweet? The Lord, the understanding, the riches, the knowledge, the wisdom. We sat down under him. Why? Because he's our protection. He's our refuge. So the Lord saw Philip from the foundation of the earth, right, on a spiritual level, even though he was physically under a fig tree, man, right? It says, Nathanael answered and saith unto him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God, thou art the King of Israel. How did he just go from whence axeth thou? What are you asking me this for? Or how do you know this? To thou art the King of Israel. Just like that, man. So it don't take a long time for you to turn from your wickedness and come to the Most High. You know, not that these men were wicked, but in the world, it doesn't take 15 years. You don't need 50 days. When you read the book of Sirach, the 5th chapter, the Lord is urging men to immediately come and draw nigh unto him, man. Let me get that real fast. For in thy security thou should be destroyed. Right? This is the book of Sirach, right? Chapter 5, and I'm going to start at verse 5. Second, concerning propitiation, be not without fear to add sin into sin, and say not, his mercy is great, he will pacify the multitude of my sins. For his mercy and wrath cometh from him, and his indignation resteth upon sinners. Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord. So don't take forever. See, turning to the Lord isn't always coming into this truth. You putting off watching that video. You putting off making that video. You putting off writing these breakdowns, man. Right? And, you know, you should have a breakdown book full of breakdowns. You should be having your highlights full of highlights. Make no tarrying to come to the Most High through Yahawashi, because if you do, the Most High can turn his back on you, man. That's 2nd Esdras, chapter 1 and verse 25. Seeing you have forsaken me, I will forsake ye also. Let me go back to it, right? And I'm going to read this once again. Bartholomew, right, was one of the 12 apostles of Yahawashi, according to the New Testament. Most scholars today identify Bartholomew as Nathanael, who appears in the Gospel, right, of John. Let me get this real fast. Right, and his name in the Greek is gift of Yahweh. All right, so all these men's names were spiritual, you know, when you kind of dive into it, you know, through the spirit. I don't want to touch on James, right? James the Greater. Like I say, you had James the Greater, James the Lesser, and the brother of Yahawashi, James. It says James the Great, located of the left, the sanctuary, is traditionally placed, right? He was martyred when King Agrippa ordered him to be beheaded. Right? You can read about that in Acts, the 2nd chapter. Right? Also, right, the sons of thunder. On fire, right? The son of Zebedee, he did the work of the Most High, and he was zealous. Now, his name really translate, right, when you go into it, as a planner as well, But being a son of thunder, that word thunder in the Greek is to roar, right? Meaning he roared with zeal. That's why Yahawashi called them the sons of thunder, man. They were on fire. Let me get this quick precept. It's the book of Mark, right? Chapter 3 and verse number 17. And James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother of James, he surnamed them Bronganus, Salaki for the pronunciation, which is the sons of thunder. Well, why were these men called the sons of thunder, man? Why is Andrew manly? Why is Peter a stone, a rock? Why are these men the sons of thunder? These men have mighty names in the Greek, man. Mighty names in the spirit. These weren't soft men. To be able to move with the Lord says a lot through the spirit, man. Let me get this real fast in the book of Luke. Right? I mean, these men were trying to put the northern kingdom to death, man. They're trying to call fire down from heaven. Right? This is the book of Luke chapter 9. Right? And I'm going to start at verse 51. And it came to pass when the time was come that he should be received up, he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem. And he sent messengers before his face. And they were, so like they went and entered into the village of the Samaritans to make ready for him. And they did not receive him because his face was as it were to go into Jerusalem. So there was a large beef and division between the northern kingdom, right, and the southern kingdom. It says, and when his disciples, James and John, saw this, meaning when they perceived it in their mind, what happened? They got hot. They got pissed. They said, Lord, wilt thou that we command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, even as Elijah did, man? So they was ready for action. They was ready to have the Lord's back. They was ready to do the work of the Most High, man. At any given time, travel, teach, right, exhortate, right? Whatever the case may be, even call fire down from heaven. But he turned and rebuked them. Like, hold up. All zeal wasn't good zeal, man. You know, certain brothers want to hold camp all night long. Right? Shaking their hand for all night long. Right? But your damn wife called you 3 times. Is he okay? Right? She hit up all the rest of the sisters. I was about to text you the same. Right now, you put a spirit on your household. Your kids crying. You think their father left them out. Your job trying to figure out why you missed Monday. You still out there shaking the hand. It's a shootout in the hood. You still shaking the hand, man. Right? There's nobody out there. It's 0-degree weather. It's unprofitable. You could be doing a lesson inside or building up your family, but you just got to teach 24. So I got to do a 24-hour camp. All zeal isn't good zeal, man. Look at the captains of the host during the time when you read the Maccabees, when those men did their own thing. They didn't listen to Judas Maccabees, who had the charge in the Holy See. They did what they wanted to do because they wanted to build themselves up a name. Where all zeal was in good zeal, man. So he turned and rebuked them and said, ye know not what manner of spirit ye are of. So you got to be able to control that fire. All fire isn't a good fire. You got to know how to channel that fire. You know, you use too much fire, you could burn up the oil. You done spent up all your oil. Certain brothers will read 45 chapters. They fast 3 times in a week. And, you know, they start to dwindle out. A lot of brothers that's on fire coming into this truth, they lose that zeal. They're not preserving it. You have to preserve oil when you need it. What's the prime time you should be examining and turning up that fire when it gets cold? Not just burning it up for the hell of it. Let's see how high my thermostat could go. Right? Next thing you know, when it's wintertime and you really needed to work, right? You got a kink in the system. You need some more Freon in there or whatever the case may be, right? The water tank cracked, right? You got to be able to know how to move in this thing. It says, for the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village, man. Right? So these men, hey, they were on fire. Let's get this quick precept in the book of Mark, chapter 5. Mark, chapter 5. I'm going to start at 37. And he suffered no man to follow him, save Peter and James and John, the brother of James. So they were the men closest to Yahawashi to see all of the secrets. They were upon the mount, you understand? They seen the transfiguration. They seen these things that other disciples didn't get to see nor have understanding to, man. Right? Let me get this quick precept in the book of Acts. We kind of quoted it, but we got to read it. So all these men died in the Lord. It's the book of Acts, chapter 12, verse 1. Now, about the time Herod, right, the king, stretched forth his hand and vexed certain of the church and killed James, the brother of John, right, with the sword. So as they started to break down and vex certain of the church, they were killing a lot of Israelites in those days, right? And chiefly they do that around the Passover all of the time. Everything's spiritual to destroy Israel right around the time of worshiping the Most High. That's why it's always a just balance. Like leaving the memorial blowing of the trumpets, the feast of dedications, the tabernacles, all of these things. You got New Year's, Christmas, Halloween. It's that just balance of wickedness right around that season. So James was slain right with the sword, right? Let me get this real fast. And we're going to dive into St. John, right? Let me get this real quick. Let's go to the mighty book. Let me get this real fast in Revelation. It's Revelation chapter 1 and verse 1. The revelation of Yahawashi, which God gave unto him to shew unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent it and sanctified it by his angel unto his servant John. Right? So when you read this, the intro to Revelations is telling you on a spiritual level that he's only writing to the elect. The revelation of Yahawashi, meaning the revealing of our Lord, which God gave unto him to shew unto his servants. The servants are the prophets. It's Amos, the 3rd chapter, verse 6 all the way down. Which must shortly come to pass. And he sent it and sanctified it by his angel unto his servant John, who bare record of the word of God and of the testimony of Yahawashi, right? And of all things that he saw. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things, right, which are written therein, for the time is at hand. Right? Let's dive straight into it. All right. Let's go to the book of Matthew. Matthew, the 20th chapter. This is Matthew chapter 20 and verse number 20. It says, Then came to him the mother of Zebedee's children with her sons, worshiping him and desiring a certain thing of him. Right? So these mothers, again, of the Gospels, they were on fire. They are a mighty example of mothers teaching children, raising them up as the way they should go, man. Right? And he said unto her, What wilt thou? She saith unto him, Grant that thou these my 2 sons may sit, the one on thy right hand, right, and the other on thy left in thy kingdom. But Yahawashi answered and said, Ye know not what ye ask. Are ye able to drink of the cup that I shall drink of, and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? They said unto him, We are able, man. And nobody knows truly what our lot is. See, the stronger you grow in this truth, the more the Lord's going to ask of you. The more knowledge you know, the more you're held to that standard of keeping those commandments and teaching your people. The more you excel and the more you push for that mark and push for that prize, like you read about in 1 Corinthians, the 9th chapter, right? The more, you got to keep climbing, man. Everybody has a different lot that they have to obtain. Some people, they can confess the Lord in the last, right, like the malefactors, and get salvation. Certain people going to bear the heat of the day, like it says in the book of Matthew, the 20th chapter, going into the parable of the penny. So everybody's going to have a lot of different things that they have to do. You have certain elders that have been in this thing 30 years, 40 years, 20 years. You have certain men that's coming in the last hour. So these men have to drink of the lot of the same way that the Lord, right, was dealt with. Crucified, whooped, beaten, right, ridiculed, hated of all men. But that's a hell of a lot to be able to enter into that everlasting salvation with the Lord, man. See, everybody want to be a ruler and a king and have slaves and dominion, but that doesn't come right to men that aren't willing to drink of that cup, man. Let me get this quick precept. Let me go to Romans, the 8th chapter. Right? It's Romans chapter 8, right? In verse 17. And if children, then heirs. Right? We're the children of the Most High. And just because we're the children, now we're heirs. And heirs of God. And joint heirs with Yahawashi. So yeah, Yahawashi is going to rule. Right? He's going to rule over all the earth. But we're classified and known as joint heirs. Right? Meaning we're going to reign right beside Yahawashi. He's going to give the authority, the preeminence and glory goes to him, but he's going to share his rulership and his kingdom with us. He doesn't have to do that. These things don't have to be so. We're going to be resurrected in the same newness of life with a new body. We're going to have spiritual powers, right? We're never going to go off anymore. We're going to be made in his image spiritually, and we're going to have the authority to give authority, man, upon all of the places of the earth, to police the earth, right? With governors, officers, captains over all of the isles in different states and places, right, that the heathen are going to dwell. And we're going to make sure that this world is governed in righteousness. It says, so if be that we suffer with him, that we may also glorify with him. So you have to suffer. If you want to be an heir and you want to rule, you have to suffer. Eliminate you wanting a kingdom, eliminate you wanting slaves, eliminate you wanting a throne. Stop talking all this kingdom talk if you don't want to suffer, man. You're created to suffer. I've never seen gold in a fire that didn't melt. It just was in there relaxed, right? Let me get this quick precept in the book of Hebrews, chapter 2 and verse 10. So those men had to understand that they were so high up from Peter, James, and John that they had to suffer the same way, right, that the Lord did, to receive the heir of the kingdom, right, just like we do. It's the book of Hebrews, chapter 2 and verse 10. For it became him for whom all are all things, and by whom are all things, and bringing many sons into glory, and to make the captain of their salvation perfect through suffering. So we're made perfect through suffering, man. Right? And that may be a tough, like they say in the world, tough pill to swallow, man. But these men understood that. They understood what it took to follow the Lord and what the Lord requires of, right, his saints as you start to follow the Lord, man. Right? Let me get one more through the spirit. Right? And when you go into it, John was younger than James, right? The sons of thunder. He was the younger brother. Let's go to the book of John, chapter 13. Right? It's the book of John, chapter 13. And I'm going to start at verse number 21. It says, when Yahawashi had thus said, he was troubled in spirit and testified and said, verily, verily, I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And it's like, man, a bomb done dropped, man. It got quiet in the room. Everybody looking around. Then the disciples looked one on another, doubting of whom he spake. That couldn't have been him. Nah, he on fire. Can't be him. Can't be him. Damn, who the hell could it be? Now there was leaning on Yahawashi's bosom, one of the disciples. Now, you could look at this many ways, man. Hey, John had to be, these men had to be some in the spirit and that close to the Lord to lay on his bosom, man. Right? You know how stern the Lord was? People were scared of the Lord. His own disciples didn't want to ask him questions. They were so close that he felt comfortable enough to lay on his chest, man. It says, whom Yahawashi loved. And Yahawashi loved John, man. The relationship that they had was a beautiful relationship. Right? Peter and John were the first ones running, you understand, to figure out what was going on in the resurrection. right? And John beat him there. Let's get the book of John, chapter 20. It's the book of John, chapter 20, and I'm going to start at verse number 3. Peter, therefore, went forth and that other disciple and came into the sepulchre. So they ran both together, and the other disciple did outrun Peter and came first to the sepulchre, man. So John had a love for Yahawashi, man. He outran Peter, came in, and figured out what was going on because he craved of the Lord, man. Right? Now, let me get this real fast. So the next apostle you have Judas Iscariot. Now, Judas Iscariot, unlike the other, he wasn't raised in Galilee. He was raised, I believe, in the southern part of Judah, right? So you have Galilee, right? Samaria and Judah. I believe it's on the southern east or the south part of Judah, right? And the men that we read about earlier, they were from Bethesda, right? Bethsaida. Let's go to this real fast. Let's go to the mighty book of Matthew. And Judas, right? Judas is really Judah, which is Yahweh's praise, right? Judas in the Greek, but they said, in the Greek. And Iscariot is actually the location of the town he's from, right? Like you may have, Araya, the whatever. Like I'm from Maryland, right? They may say that, like Micah the Morshite. Micah was from Morshite, and they named him Micah the Morshite, man. When you read Micah, the first chapter. So it's the same spirit as you read the New Testament. It says the word of the Lord that came to Micah, the Morshite, in the days of Jotham. Just like you have Judas the Iscariot or Judas Iscariot. So these men were named, a lot of them, after their inhabitants in the places that they dwelled. Again, Judas, right, being Judah, which is Yahweh's praise, and right, Iscariot being Ketanum, right, in the Greek for pronouncing that right. Right, Ketroth, right, a town, right, located in southern or south of Jerusalem in Judea. Right, that's where he gets his name. Right, let's dive straight into it. Let's go to the mighty book of Matthew, right, chapter 27. Right, and Judas Iscariot was off. He was wicked. It's levels of wickedness. I would rather a brother just be outright wicked so that I can know he's wicked, know how to move around him, than to have your brother smiling in your face and all the time they want to take your place. Just want to just being sneaky and conniving and evil. That's Proverbs. Let me get that real fast. Proverbs, the 26th chapter. This is talking about Esau, right? But it's also talking about you wicked Jake, right? This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 26 and verse 24. It says, he that hateth dissembleth with his lips and layeth up deceit within him, man. Certain people, they just hate you deep down within you, but they have the audacity to still salute you, still give you a hug. Sisters will kiss you on the cheek. Brothers are still root for you, but they laying up deceit. It's deep down within them. That's the spirit of Judas Iscariot, man. When he speaketh fair, believe him not. Oh, man, you got a new job. Congratulations, man. That's not sincere. And the Lord said, let love be without dissimulation. Right, let me get that real fast. I believe that's Romans, the 12th chapter. Let me just go to Romans, the 12th chapter. Get this quick precept. Right? It says, let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good, man. So the Lord said, let love, and I want to get this definition. What that even means. Why did the Lord say, let love be without this? That's guile, lying, masking, Meaning you're putting a mask on, disguising, hypocrisy, hiding, veiling, double dealing, shaming, faking, bluffing. If you love somebody, it shouldn't be a thought process if this brother really loves you or not, or this sister really loves you or not. If you really love somebody, it should show. It shouldn't be that Judas Iscariot love, man. This is exactly what Paul spoke against, right? It says, when he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart, whose hatred is covered by deceit. Those are the worst ones. His wickedness should be shewed before the whole congregation. And that's exactly what happened to Judas Iscariot. His wickedness was covered by deceit and guile as the treasurer, because he was the treasurer, right? When often they would go, the disciples, they would do the work of the Most High. You know, a lot of people, they would give alms, right? When you read, I believe, John, the 8th chapter, Yahawashi was sitting in the treasury, man, right? And what was he doing in there? He was giving alms, and he was teaching in there, right? I believe that's John 8. Bear with me. Okay, 8 and 20. That's probably what I want. All right, let me get this quick precept real fast. John chapter 8. Right? Right, and it reads, these words spake Yahawashi in the treasury. Why was he in the treasury? Because he was giving alms. Who was his treasurer? Judas Iscariot. So as they were going out doing the work of the Lord, Judas Iscariot had to give alms. You understand? And we're walking around and we're the apostles and we're giving alms. It all has to come from him. He's the treasurer. So he was the one that was saying deceitful things, right? When you read the book of Matthew, right? The 28th chapter. Let me get this real fast. Salakia. 26 and 6. That's what I want. Matthew 26 and 6. It's Matthew chapter 26 and 6. Now, when Yahawashi was in Bethany, in the house of Simon and Leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box, a very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. And then there's no greater righteous thing to do than to anoint Yahawashi before his burial, man. Literally. It says, but when his disciples saw it, and it says disciples is talking about Judas Iscariot. You know, other, gospels, they plainly say it. That they had indignation saying, to what purpose is this waste? Who are you to say that, man? How can you waste anything on the Lord? What does it mean, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. You think that was sincere? Or you think he was showing the simulation, man? Wickedness, falsehood, guile, lying, evilness, right? So that's the type of spirit he was in. But he wasn't always in that spirit because the Lord called him, right? And for him to come all the way from Judea all the way up to Galilee, there's no really telling in the scriptures how we got there and how the Lord drew him, but he was numbered amongst the 12, right? And the Lord didn't call all 12, man. It's like he didn't call all men to be the 12. I'm gonna get this quick precept, right? In the book. Matter of fact, I'm gonna come back to that one. Let me get this real fast. In the book of Acts. Let's go to Acts chapter 20. It's Acts chapter 20. And I'm going to start at verse number 10. Right? Acts chapter 1 and verse 20. That's what I want. Acts chapter 1 and verse 20. It says, for it is written in the book of Psalms, let his habitation be desolate, and let no man dwell therein, and his big prick another take. Right? Bishprick is talking about office. Let his office another man take. And another man did take his office, man. Mattathias. It says, wherefore of these men which have companied with us all that time that the Lord went in and out among us. Right? So, he killed himself. That was his lot, to turn on the Lord, go off, and kill himself. Let's go to the mighty book of, I want to get Jude. right? And we're going to touch on the Apostle Jude, man, which is also the Apostle Thaddeus and Lebanus, right? When you read, various Gospels, you may have Matthew, the 10th chapter, going into the 12. You may have Luke, going into the 12. You may have Mark, the 3rd chapter, Luke, the 6th chapter, Matthew, the 10th chapter. You may have these chapters going into the 12. You may say, well, why does it say Simon, right? The Canaanite right here. Then you have Saint Simon, you have Simon, the so-called Canaanite, Simon the Zealot, right? You have Lebanus, you have Thaddeus, right? You have Thomas, Demeus. You have these men, they have surnames. You have Simon, Peter. So these men, similarly, they have two names, right, when you're going into it, but you have to, dive in to really figure out, like, who these men are and which names. Now, like I said, this is Iscariot, but this was a place in southern Judah, right, which is translated to Iscariot, right, when you go into it. I wanted to pull that up as well, right? Now, Jude, it says, according to traditions, Jude suffered martyrdom about 65 AD, right, in Berteret in the Roman province of Syria, right? Let me get down to the point. The axe that he is often showed holding in the picture symbolizes the way in which he was killed. So Jude was hacked to death, man. Right? Let's get the mighty book of Jude, man. And this is a short book, but this is a fire book, man. If you ever read the book of Jude, it's fire. It's touching on so much of the scriptures. It says, Jude, the servant of Yahawashi and brother of James, right? To them that are sanctified, right? So when you read the New Testament, Jude's name is really Judas, but to cipher it from Judas Iscariot and too many names being the same, it's called Jude, right? When you go to the book of Matthew, I want to get this quick precept, and then I'm going to go to Matthew. So like you go back to Jude, Matthew, the 13th chapter. And it's real important to go back to the basics, even though this isn't necessarily too much basics, but you want to understand what it is you read. Like when you read the book of Acts, the 8th chapter. See, a lot of brothers will dig and dig and dig for deeper things, but you go out there teaching, and a brother asks you, well, how many Jameses is there? And is this James, the brother of Yahawashi, or is this James the Lesser? And he pulls a precept. It's something that simple can confound you. And not that anybody for not, can get confounded, but it's a simple matter of, if this is your book, which it is, you're supposed to know the ins and out of everything going on. You want to know these men, their attributes, their names, the Greek, how they were raised, where they were raised, because it's important. The Lord left it as a track record, man. Right? I'm going to get that real fast, and then I'm going to come back to that. Right, in 1 John. Right, let's go to 1 John chapter 5. Right, the Lord said, whatsoever written was written aforetime was written for our learning sake. Right, this is the mighty book, right, of 1 John chapter 5 in verse number 10. He that believeth on the Son have the witness in himself. He that believeth not God have made him a liar, because he believeth not the record that God gave of his Son. So the Son left a record. You can't just look at anything, frivolously or small and say, well, it's a small matter. No, the record that Yahawashi laid and gave is very important. Who he was with, who he called, who he chose, right? These things are very important. Right? I want to dive back into the book of Jude, right? It's the book of Jude, right? Chapter 1, right? In verse number 1. It says, Jude, the servant of Yahawashi, a brother of James, to them that are sanctified by God the Father and preserved in Yahawashi Hamashiach, right? And Jude in the Greek is to have a great heart, or to have a big heart. So Jude, he loved, a man of the heart. So he had a loving spirit. It says, mercy unto you and peace and love be multiplied. You can kind of tell through the Spirit as he writes, how he loves and has love for the brethren. Beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you of the common salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you and exhortate you that ye should earnestly contend for the faith which was once delivered, right, unto the saints. Right, let me dive down real fast. Right, in verse 22, it says, "And of some have compassion, making a difference." So you could feel the spirit of his heart, when you read this. Right, I want to get this real fast. In the book of Matthew, it's Matthew chapter 13 and verse 55. Right, is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary? And his brethren James? So you had James, Joses, and Simon, and Judas. So when it says Judas, it's going into what? Let me get this real fast. Let's pull up real fast the blue letter. Right, Matthew chapter 13. For sake of time, I didn't pull up every last one of these names in the blue letter. Right? Judas, right, which is really Judah. He shall be praised, right? Like I said, going back to like a Judas Iscariot name, Judas is the Greek of Judah. So a lot of these men that had the same exact names, right? And then you would come down to Judah or Judas being the half brother of Yahawashi. Well, he was the brother of Yahawashi in Matthew chapter 13 and verse 55. So these men will have different names, like when you read it. So you say Jude and Judas, and you gotta really just take the time too and map out a plan, right? And write these things down. See, a lot of these scholars, you'll go on the internet and then they'll have Judas Maccabees, and they'll have all, his brothers, they'll have Mattathias, they'll have these trees lined out because you have men that have taken the time to really dive in to see who these men are and their family trees and their names in the Greek and the things that they have done is very important. That scholarship, because it's going to help you understand, right, what it is that you're reading. You don't want to read over something because by the time the second or third time you've read something, how much are you going to miss, right, that you could have supped with through the Spirit, right? Let me get this real fast. All right, we jumping the gun, right? So he was hacked and martyred. Let's go to St. Matthew, right? So you have St. Matthew, according to some extra, right, biblical tradition, St. Matthew died and martyred in Ethiopia. Right, so a lot of links or a lot of scholars may say he died in Ethiopia, which he did, but some will say he was stoned, like it says, and burnt alive. But others say he was thrust, right, thrust in his side or thrust in, right, and hacked to death. Right, let me see if I could pull that up. Saint Matthew pierced in his side. Saint Matthew sword, died of sword. See, a sword and a spear. So, I mean, you'll get different links, but through the Spirit, the same way, right? A lot of these disciples died, they got stoned, they got pierced. Not only did it say he got pierced in his side and stoned, but they said that, Matthew, he got burned alive, man. That's not a light matter to get burned, right? Your flesh is on fire, man. It's eating up and driving away all of your nerves, man. God knows what that even feels like. You put your hand over the fire for maybe 5 seconds and go like this, 3 seconds. While you may get burned, electrocuted, stick your hand accidentally in a socket. Something may happen to you, or accidentally get some water poured on you that's hot, or a plate, fumble it, fall on your arm. But imagine pure fire, man. Burning and ripping open your flesh. Let's go to the book of Matthew, right? See, and Matthew was a publican, and he was on fire. And a lot of men didn't like Matthew, right? Because of Herod Antipas and him working, right, with that, to be able to collect taxes from his people, right? A lot of people may look at that as you working with the enemy, you are Uncle Tom, or somebody, just showing hatred. And a lot of people didn't like that. This is the book of Matthew, right? Chapter 9. And I'm going to start right at verse number 9. In Matthew, in the Greek, right, his name goes to gift of Yahweh, or gift to Yahweh, a gift of Yahweh, right? It says, and as Yahawashi passed forth from thence, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the receipt of custom. So immediately all these men, when Yahawashi drew them, they dropped everything and they left. Andrew, he dropped everything. He dropped his nets. Peter dropped his net. Nathanael, right? The Lord seen him right under the fig tree. He immediately believed and followed the Lord. This is the Son of God. There's no account of the 12 withdrawn, fumbling, or not really trying to open up their mind and spirit unto the Lord. It says, name Matthew sitting at the receipt of custom, right? He was doing his work. And he said unto him, follow me, man. There go that word again. There go that phrase, follow me. It says, and he arose and followed him. No questions asked. Let you say that, man, to somebody. Walk up to somebody and say, follow me, man. You might get laughed at. They may say, well, who the hell are you? What are you talking about? Hey, we'll be on the highways and byways, say, come, we'll go like this. But I don't think we're trying to kidnap them, or who are these strange men waving at us, and what's over there? Nah, they grabbing their children. People don't want to come to the Most High. But when you see Yahawashi manifest, man, the elect are going to follow him without any questions asked, man. See, your curiosity is going to spark that interest and void that you never had, that you always need, man. That you once needed. Let me get this in Song of Solomon, the first chapter. It says, let him, start at verse 2, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for thy love is better than wine, because of the savor of thy good ointments, right? Right, which is what? The anointing oil of the law. It really anoints man. Right? On one fold, another fold, the elect are the good ointments, because we flow out of the garden of the Lord to draw in those that are lost through the Savior of Yahawashi. And on another fold, Yahawashi is that frankincense and myrrh flowing from kingdom to kingdom, now throughout the four corners of the earth, and drawing the elect unto him. It says, thy name is as ointment poured forth. Therefore do the virgins love thee. Draw me. That draw me is the same draw me out of John chapter 6 and 44. Right? No man could come unto me except the Father draw. It says, draw me, we will run after thee. It says, the king have brought me into his chambers, and we will be glad and rejoice in thee, and we will remember thy love more than wine. The upright love thee. Right? So the upright, they already know the Lord. They follow the Lord. Right? Verse 10. And it came to pass, as Yahawashi sat at meat in the house, behold, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, so like they said unto his disciples, why eateth your master with publicans and sinners, man? So they had hate in their heart. Let me get this quick account in Luke. Get the same account in Luke, the 5th chapter. Right? It says in Luke, the 5th chapter, they made a feast. Right? This is the book, right? And Matthew's also called Levi. Right? It says, and Levi made him a great feast. So when he came into the Lord, you turn up. When the Most High draw you through Yahawashi, you turn up, man. You have no reason to be sorrowful anymore. If you don't have a just balance of joy in your life, you got to really question your estate in this truth, man. Let me get this real quick. You have to have something to joy in. Get this quick precept. This is Sirach chapter 26 and 4. Whether a man be rich or poor, right? If he have a good heart towards the Lord, he shall at all times rejoice with a cheerful countenance, man. Right? So no matter what's going on in your life, if you're poor, you're rich, all hell breaking loose, and you're not really where you want to be, and all hell is breaking loose in this world. If your heart is good and true and pure towards the Lord, you have a reason to rejoice, man. Why? Because salvation draweth near. The Lord has chosen you. You understand these precepts. The Lord gave you a vision last night in your dreams. There are too many things the Lord is doing for you on a spiritual level that you can't neglect, that you have to be happy for, right? The joy of the Lord is your strength. So when Matthew, right, Levi, he made a feast, right there and it turned it up. It says, and there was a great company of publicans and others that sat down with them, meaning they snuck in, man, right? They went off, passing by, seeing all that noise, celebration, and they got curious. See, a lot of people will fame themselves. Like the publicans often went into people's houses along with the Lord, right? And they were off because they wanted to spy out things. It says, but their scribes and the Pharisees murmured against the disciples, saying, why do ye eat and drink with publicans and sinners? Right? It says, just because you don't understand anything doesn't mean you have to question the Lord. And Yahawashi answered and said unto them, they that are whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. Huh? I am came not to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. Right? And I want to get this real fast. You know, this man was on fire. You know, Matthew, he was on fire. Let's go to Mark, the 2nd chapter. Get this real fast. And he passed by and saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting at the receipt of custom, and said unto him, follow me. And he arose and followed him. Just wanted to get that from Mark, Luke, and Matthew, that account. Because those men, they didn't ask any questions, right? Let's dive into, right, St. Peter. See, St. Peter, right, he's the head of the church, the rock of the church. What a lot of your early so-called church fathers are called the first pope, right? He was crucified upside down, right? And although Peter, you know, he had a zeal, and his name in the Greek is stone and rock of interpretation. All right, let me get this real fast. Let's go to the mighty book of John. Let's go to John, right? Chapter, I'm going to start at verse 41, right? I mean, this whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at a little bit down, a little bit more. So I can bear with me. I'm going to start at verse 35. It says, again, the next day after John stood, two of his disciples looking upon Yahawashi, and he walked and said, behold, the Lamb of God. And two of the disciples heard him speak, and they followed Yahawashi. Then Yahawashi turned and saw them following, which saith unto them, what seek ye? They said unto them, Rabbi, which is to say, being interpreted, Master, where dwellest thou? And he saith unto them, come and see. And they came and saw where he dwelt, and abode with him that day, for it was about the 10th hour. And one of the two, right, we read this earlier, which heard John speak and followed him, was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, right? He first findeth his own brother Simon, and saith unto him, we have found the Messiah, which is interpreted the Christ. And he brought him to Yahawashi. And when Yahawashi beheld him, the same way he beheld Nathanael, man, he said, thou art Simon, the son of Jonah. Thou should be called Cephas, which is interpretation a stone. So immediately when the Lord saw him, when the Lord connect back with that spirit, because he already knew him in the third heaven, they were already joined together. When he seen him manifest on earth, immediately he gave him the name, the stone, man. See, this isn't really talked about a lot of the 12. The Lord just say, follow me to the others. But immediately he called Peter the rock, man, the stone. Meaning upon the foundation of Peter will build the rest of the church, man. And that's a heavy lot. Let's go to Ephesians, the 2nd chapter. That's a heavy lot right there, man. You're responsible of the downfall or the rising of your people. See, everybody want preeminence. They want glory, right? They want notoriety. You know, a lot of people just want to rule. That's a wicked spirit. I want to be in charge. I'm in charge. Right? Let me get this real fast in Sirach. right? Chapter 7, right? It's Sirach chapter 7 in verse, right, number 4. It says, seek not of the Lord preeminence. So a lot of people, they want to be ruler, they want to be king, they want to be the noble. See, the Lord had to call Peter. Peter had a humble spirit. It says, neither of the king the seat of honor. Justify not thyself before the Lord, and boast not of thy wisdom before the king. Seek not to be judged. See, what man sought to be judged that was actually a good ruler? David was lowly. Abraham was in his father's house. The Lord called him. You understand? Samuel was young, right? Solomon, you understand? These men, Solomon was young. He said, I have not known, I have not have a mind of judgment, right? First Chronicles, the 29th chapter, right? Of Wisdom of Solomon, the 8th and 9th chapter, crying out for wisdom, right? Second Chronicles, the 1st chapter, First Kings, the 3rd chapter, right? Solomon, he was young, he was feeble, and he needed direction. None of these men were just on the thrones. The meekest and the humble, like the Lord said in Sirach 3:18, right? The mysteries are showed to the meek. It says, being not able to take away iniquities, lest at any time thou fear the person of the mighty, and lay a stumbling block in the way of thy righteousness. See, what were the reasons why the Lord chose Peter? What was Peter's spirit where the Lord said, you know what, you're going to be the foundation. You know, we're going to build the church off the you. Let me get this real fast in the book of Matthew. Right, Matthew, the 16th chapter. We're going to dive straight into it. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 16, right? And I'm going to start at verse number 13. When Yahawashi came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples. So he asked these men that were following him, saying, whom do men say say that I, the Son of Man, am? Right? I'm sure he knew, because he knew all things. The same way, like, let me get this quick precept, right? I don't want to touch on too many points at the same time. But the Lord asks men stuff in the Gospels just to see what they're going to say. Not that he really was scratching his beard trying to figure out what men were actually saying. It's the book of John, chapter 14, in verse, let me see what I want. I'm going to start at, bear with me. Salaki, bear with me. Let me see what I want. I want John, the 6th chapter. That's what I want. It's John chapter 6 and verse 5. It says, when Yahawashi then lifted up his eyes, he saw a great company and unto him, and he saith unto Philip, whence shall we buy bread? See, he's asking questions. That these may eat. And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. See, the Lord already know these things, man. He already knew who men were saying that he was. He knew the talk of the town. But it's the spirit. This is written for our learning sake. See, men said this, John the Baptist, men are saying that, but immediately Peter already knew who he was, man. So this was written to show you the spirit that Peter possessed, and that the Lord is acknowledging the spirit that Peter has. It says, and they said, some say that thou art John the Baptist, and some Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. It says, he saith unto them, but whom say ye that I am? Huh? You believe in the talk of the town? It says, and Simon Peter answered and said, thou art Christ, right? The anointed, the Son of the living God. And Yahawashi answered and said unto him, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed it unto thee. Meaning certain things the Father shows you directly. Like the Lord said, he standeth at the door and knock. If any man cometh unto him, he will sup with him. Paraphrasing greatly. So flesh and blood didn't break this down. It wasn't a mortal man that declared it unto the Lord. It's like unto Peter. But my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it, man. It's not talking about the gates of the underworld. See, the gates of hell are death, meaning death is not going to prevent nor take away the truth of the foundation of the church that I'm laying. See, nothing's going to be diminished, taken away, or even not death itself could prevent this truth. Because after you die, Peter, who's going to build on top of this church? Who's going to be after that man? Who's going to be after that man? So not even the gates of hell. The gates mean strength. You understand? Hell is the grave and death. Nothing can diminish after I place you upon this rock. That's what Yahawashi is saying. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Right? So the Lord said, look, I'm going to be able to give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth, right, shall be bound in heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So the Lord gave Peter power. Peter had spiritual power also, man. When you read the book of Acts. I mean, Peter, out of the 12, he had a very great zeal. He was wise. He was humble. Let's go to Acts chapter 3 and verse 12. And when Peter saw it, he answered unto the people, ye men of Israel, why marvel ye at this? Or why look ye so earnestly on us? See, that's a humble spirit. See, men would say, look, yeah, we did do it. We did heal this man. It was I. Right? It was I. Right? You know how men, they look off, it was I, and me only have I done this. And by my might only. You start moving like Nebuchadnezzar, man. Start moving like Herod. What happened to Herod, man? We read the book of Acts. He got destroyed. Look at Nebuchadnezzar. Look at these men that had high spirits. They got humble. See, he said, look, why are you looking at me? I'm nobody. As though by our own power or holiness have we made this man to walk. That's why men always say all praises to the Most High. All honor and glory to the Most High. Right? It says the God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Jacob, and the God of our fathers have glorified this son, Yahawashi, whom ye delivered up. So he cutting up the Jews and denied him in the presence of Pilate when he was determined to let him go. Let's go to the book of Acts chapter 5, from verse number 12. It says, and by the hands of the apostles were many signs and wonders wrought among the people. So on a great commission that the Christians called, when the Lord took the 12 upon the mount, he gave them what? All power and preeminence and glory. Right? You can read about that in the book of Mark. Right? Mark the 16th chapter. The Lord gave the apostles strength and spiritual powers. It's the book of Mark chapter 16. And I'm going to start at verse number 16. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, right? Talking to the 12. But he that believeth not shall be damned, right? Destroyed. And these signs shall follow them that believe. So the same signs that we're reading about that the apostles wrought was the same signs that followed men that believed. All men didn't believe like Peter. The Lord said, as is your faith, so be it unto you. Paraphrasing greatly. I believe that's what is that? Matthew. I mean Matthew the 7th chapter. It could be so like let me try to pull it up. So the Lord will say, as unto your faith, 9 and 27. That's what it is. It's a book of Matthew chapter 9 and verse 27. And when Yahawashi departed thence, two blind men followed him, crying, saying, thou art a son of David, have mercy upon us. Meaning, save us, help us. This is what the Lord said. And when he was come into the house, and the blind men came in, and Yahawashi said unto them, believe ye that I am able to do this? See, a lot of people don't believe. What happened to his disciples when he said, eat my flesh and drink my blood? They didn't believe that. They fell away. They said unto him, yea, Lord. Then touched he their eyes, saying, according to your faith be it unto you. Meaning the more you believe, the more you'll get. The less you believe, the less you'll get. So when you think about the 12, how much did these men believe? So the signs that they can do, see, those even saying the world, I believe I could fly, man. That's an R. Kelly song. I believe I could touch the sky, man. You got certain people, I don't care what's going on, I'm gonna score this last bucket. They believe these things. It says these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils, and they shall speak with new tongues. Right? So going back to Acts, right, the 12th verse, and by the hands of the apostles were many signs, right, wonders wrought among the people. And they were all with one accord in Solomon's porch, right, by the temple. And of the rest durst not any man to join themselves with them. Why? Because their glory was such known amongst the men that you couldn't just join yourself unto the 12. It's like when they came through, or Peter came through, you couldn't, when it says you can't join yourself to them, and you can't hide. You can't hide Peter amongst a multitude, man. They were looking at Peter like a god on the earth, man. When Peter would walk by, they were jumping at his shadow, the same way they were trying to grab Yahawashi's him. It says, but the people magnified them. Man, they started the man worship, the 12, man. And they started the lust and yearn and crave after Peter. It says, and believers were more added to the Lord. So some in righteousness, but some, they just wanted to be healed. Multitudes both of men and women. And that had to be a heavy lot, man. Peter was married. Right? All these women chasing you, man. Right? Diving on the floor. It says, and so much that they brought forth sick in the streets and laid them on the beds and couches, that at the least the shadow of Peter passing by may overshadow them, man. So they were following Peter so much. The multitudes were so great. It was like when Paul was on the earth, man. It's like when Yahawashi was walking the earth. Certain men you can't just join yourself to. I can't join myself to Michael Jordan, him not say, who are you? And the multitudes. And no, you can't just join yourself to these type of men. They were on missions, journeys. So people were diving, trying to let the shadow of Peter, touch them, huh? Right, I want to get this quick precept. But along with that, Peter, through the spirit, if you have ears to hear, he fell a lot. And that just goes to show you that even the head of the church is going to fall. Right? He fell damn near the most. Right? When you read these accounts. Not that the other 12 didn't fall, but it's written that Peter fell. Why is it written that Peter fell so many times? Right? He was upon the sea. He called out to the Lord. He started to sink. He denied the Lord thrice. It wasn't to Peter was an elder man. Right? When you read the book of First Peter, I believe 60 AD all the way out, that Peter was an elder getting ready. They give up the ghost through his martyrdom. And he already said these things that the Lord had confirmed before in the book of John. Right? Let me get this quick precept. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 14 and 23. It says, and when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Yahawashi went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But straightway Yahawashi said, Slakia spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer. It is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him. So just like when John understood in the book of Luke, right? This is the Lord. Slakia, John, the 21st chapter, this is the Lord, right? Peter girded up his fisher suit and he jumped in trying to get to the Lord. Peter ran to the sepulchre trying to get to the Lord. Peter's the first one crying out to try to come to the Lord on sea. So he has that type of zeal and that spirit to cleave unto the Lord, man. That's what you need. Like a Judas Maccabees, like David, man. When Goliath came, who's going to fight and come up against Israel? David stepped up. Judas Maccabees stepped up. Certain men through the spirit, they step up. And Peter answered and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down, right out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Yahawashi. That's physical. That's not figuratively, right? They were going over precepts. Okay, man, maybe this is the Lord. I never seen it broken down like this. No, he physically got out the ship. It wasn't a spiritual ship, right? He wasn't flipping pages. That was the ship until he finally landed on the waters, right? Which he walked through. That's not what this is talking about. He physically walked on the waters. It says, but when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid and began to sink. He cried, saying, Lord, save me. Right? So even mortal man, you have Paul that had a thorn in the flesh. That's spiritual. Why these great men with all of these spiritual power? Paul had spiritual power. That's Acts the 14th chapter. He had a man rise up. You understand, and walk that was lame. These men had powers, man. Right? These men were on a very deep level. A serpent bit Paul and nothing happened. He shook it off, man. That's Mark the 16th chapter, which we just read. All right, let me just read it real fast. Mark 16 and 18. They shall take up serpents. That's literally what Paul did. It says, and they shall, it's like, and if they shall drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. Meaning they could drink poison because the gates of hell can't stop this truth. Nothing's going to kill them until the Lord's ready for them to be martyred. That's what that's going into, man. They shall lay hands on the sick, meaning with power, they shall recover. Right? So it says, and immediately Yahawashi stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? So faith is very important in the Gospels, man. You read about that a whole lot, about faith. Right? Without faith, it is impossible to please him. Right? That's the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, right in verse number 6. Right? Let me get this real fast. Right? So you had the apostle Peter, right? The crucifixion, right? Died upside down and was martyred and killed. Right? A painful death, man. Painful death. Let me get maybe 2 more precepts on Peter, and we're going to keep it moving. Right? I want to get the book of John. Let me see. Salaki, bear with me. This is the mighty book of John, chapter 21, in verse number 20. Then Peter, turning about, seeth the disciple whom Yahawashi loved, following, which also leaned on his breast at supper, right, John, and said, Lord, which is he that betrayeth thee? Peter, seeing him, saith to Yahawashi, Lord, and what shall this man do? Yahawashi said unto him, if I will that he tarry till I come, what is that to thee? Follow thou me. Right? Meaning, don't worry about other people's lots. A lot of people, they let things and other people deter their faith and their walk. You know, God forbid that this camp stops doing the work of the Lord. Does that mean you have to stop doing the work of the Lord? If your husband's out of order, does that mean you fall out the truth? If your wife's out of orders, does that mean you give up faith? Right? What is it to you, these things? That'll throw off your mentality. See, a lot of people are murmuring when you read, right, the book of Luke, chapter 22, who's going to be the greatest in the kingdom? Is it I? Is it I? Is it I? Everybody's worrying about somebody else. That could deter and overthrow you, man. Don't let you work somewhere and find out somebody that's doing the same position you are, making $2 more than you, man. All hell will break loose. I believe that's a law. You can't even talk about your wages because people go on strike. They will say respect the persons, or, you know, I thought that this was a, what do they call, a fair, equal opportunity employer. All right, this is the book of Luke, chapter 22 and verse number 24. Right? It says, and there was also strife among them. So all hell was breaking loose with the 12. Because with everything, there's rank. You have rank at work. You have rank at home, right? You have the husband, the wife, the children. The Most High, Yahawashi, you understand in the 12. Of them should be accompanied the greatest. And he said unto them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship, man. See, the kings of the Gentiles, they get off on lordship. They get off on a monarchy system where they can rule and govern and have preeminence. They get off on that spirit, man. You know, they actually love that spirit. It's not a righteous spirit to have. The Lord has created us to be servants. Let me get this quick precept. It's the book of First Maccabees, chapter 5. This whole thing is fire. You see it what? All right, let me get this quick precept. I want to pull it up real fast. Bear with me. Salaki, bear with me. Pull this quick precept. Okay, Con, that's what I want. First Maccabees 6. This First Maccabees chapter 6, and I want to start at verse number 10. It says, wherefore he called all his friends and said unto them, the sleep is gone from mine eyes, and my heart faileth for very care. And I thought with myself into what tribulation I am come, and how great a flood of misery it is wherein now I am. For I was bountiful and beloved in my power. So this is the spirit of a heathen, man. He was bountiful and he boasted and loved his power, man. You don't have any power. They did not say, don't I have power to crucify you? That's the boastfulness of these kings and Gentiles. And the Lord said, you have no power at all if it were not given to you from the Lord. In the book of John, chapter 19 and verse 11. Let me get that real fast. I'm going to come back to this. It's the book of John, chapter 19 and verse number 11, right? Yahawashi answered, thou couldst, let me read verse 10. Then saith Paul unto him, speakest thou not unto me? Right? The pride. Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee and have power to release thee? Yahawashi answered, thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore he that delivereth unto thee have the greater sin, right? The Jews. It says, but now I remember the evils that I did at Jerusalem, and that I took all the vessels of gold, silver that were therein, and sent to destroy the inhabitants of Judea without a cause, right? So those are the spirits of the Gentiles, the lordship of the Gentiles, right? That the Lord was talking about. Well, let me go back to that in the book of Luke, right? Chapter 22 and verse number 24. So as there's strife amongst the 12, right? It says, and there was also a strife amongst them, which of them should be accounted the greatest. And he said unto them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. But ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be the younger. See, the younger is always shorter to receive the inheritance, right? He's always getting the short end of the stick. See, all of the strength goes to the eldest son or your first son. That's even in the law, right? I don't have to pull 1,000 precepts, but nevertheless, it says, and he that is chief as doeth serve. So if you feel like the Most High has bestowed and blessed you with the amount of knowledge to go hard, you got to abase yourself, man. You can't act as if you know something when you really don't. See, the Most High, I was at camp one time and I was teaching, and I was just going into the works of the Most High, and I seen these heathens walking by, and they was laughing, they on the phone, they jogging, they riding, they bike, they walking the dog. I said, look, the Most High is full of labor. Everything's laboring. You know, these heathens, they're talking to nobody. Their life is vain. The Most High is moving them. Most High's having them go to work every day, go to the grocery store. Like, I'm confounded, right? The Lord is doing all of these things, man, right? It says, let him as the younger and he that is chief. So, I mean, if the Lord got all that going on, and the Lord has you going on, the Lord's moving your spirit. And as quick as he gave it to you is as quick as he could take it away. You have to be a servant. Yahawashi came to serve, man. He washed men's feet. He died for your sins. He prayed all night long for the elect, man. And for himself through the Spirit to retain strength and to draw closer to the Father. It says, whether is greater, he that sitteth at meat or he that serveth? Is not he that sitteth at meat? But I am among you as he that serveth, man. So you have to abase yourself. And that's what Peter did. Peter was extremely humble. Ye are they which have continued with me in my temptations. And I appoint unto you a kingdom, as my Father had appointed unto me. That's that joint heirs. When he appointed these men unto a kingdom. The kingdom is within you. When he appointed these men unto a kingdom, let me get two quick precepts. This is Galatians chapter 4, right? In verse number 1. Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all. And we're a servant, and we're lords of all, man. But we're waiting for that throne. We're waiting to be joint heirs. Although we're the younger, like I said in the precept, although we're like the servant, although we serve, we're doing that for the greater purpose that in due time we may rule. How can you be a leader if you never were a follower? Joshua was a great follower, man. Elisha was a great follower. You have many men that were great followers in the spirit. You had Simon, he was a great follower under the captain Judas, man. Right? And Jonathan, right? Till it was their time to fall asleep, and then the next one stepped up. What do you think he learned a lot of his military understanding from? Judas, man. Maccabees. You have to be able to follow. And Peter followed Yahawashi. He seen in-depth secrets. He seen things men didn't see. He seen how he carried situations. And all of that shaped his mind and spirit, you understand, to be able to give orders and leadership. Now, did Peter fall short like we all? Come, right? Paul even rebuked Peter in the book of Galatians, chapter 2 and verse 11 all the way down. But nevertheless, right? Let me get this real fast. All right, you have next the apostle Philip, man. So Philip was crucified. So a lot of these apostles, they were crucified, meaning they drunk of the same cup of the same lot of their king. It says Philip died. In some traditions, he simply died of old age, right? That's not true. However, in more popular traditions, right, Philip died a martyr's death by crucifixion. Check that out. And that got to be one of the most painfulest way to die because, see, when people torture you, they may torture one part of your body. They may just pierce you in your side, or they may snap your neck. They may pick a part of your body to dismantle and destroy. But with a crucifixion, you're being tied up. Your hands could somewhat be broke, snapped, right? Bled. Your veins are hitting multiple strong arteries. You're hanging upside down. You're losing consciousness. You're getting whooped after already being whooped or beaten. And then at the end of it, you either bleed out, internal bleeding, right? Or you lose consciousness and don't even know when it is that you gave up the ghost, right? So, I mean, this is a very deep lot going into these apostles, man, these men. Right? I'm going to dive into this real fast. Let's go to John chapter 14. And Philip, he had a spirit to draw a nigh of curiosity to the Lord, man. A lot of these men didn't fully understand everything, but they were following. That's why a lot of the times you read the the Gospels, a lot of the apostles, they seem like they don't know too much of what's going on. Like, what does that mean? The Lord said, what's meanest thou? And the Lord kind of breaking things down. He went and he expounded things unto those men secretly, because keeping everything in context, they just dropped everything and start following the Lord. See, a lot of people, they just coming into the truth. It's been 2 years, 8 years, 6 months. You still got questions. You still don't know what's going on. You could very well be the elect. But who says the elect knows all things? We're all children in the spirit, right? As we should be, no matter how long we've been in this truth. So such are the kingdom of heaven. Book of Matthew, chapter 18. It's the book of John, chapter 14, and verse number 1. It says, let not your heart be troubled. Believe ye in Yahweh, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would not have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. So the Lord's telling that to the 12. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself. Right? Meaning what? The Lord has to finish his lot and come again to redeem those men, the 12, to receive you into myself, meaning to my kingdom, to be joint heirs and rulers with me. That where I am, that ye may be also, meaning what? On thrones. It says, and whether I go, ye know, and the way ye know. It says, and whether I go, ye know, right? And the way ye know, meaning you already know that I'm going to the Father. You know what I'm sent to do, and you know how to get there because I'm with you right now. It says, Thomas saith unto him, right, Lord, we know not. So he's saying, looking up, where's Jacob's ladder? He's trying to figure out what he's talking about. It says, whither goest? It says, and how can we know the way? So Thomas doesn't understand the deepness of what the Lord is saying. More knowledge is expounded in the last days, like you read about Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 4. But these men were living these things out. A lot of these things were expounded. See, we have the luxury of reading this over and over and over. We can ask questions from brothers. We can have teachers teach us. These men were living in the moment. It says, Yahawashi saith unto him, I am the way. Meaning that's how you get to the Father, man. You don't need to go through a portal. Well, there is no man you go see. It says the truth and the life. The way is the way to the Father. The truth, right, is the word made manifest. He is the truth. There's no other way, direction, thought process you need to look or go. He is the truth. Meaning whatever you ask in him will be made manifest. You have no need of misery, pain, of to be tortured by philosophies, doctrines, or lies of Satan. And the life, meaning immortality in the resurrection. No man cometh into the Father but by me, right? It says, if ye had known me, you should have known my Father also. And from thenceforth ye know him and have seen him. See, a lot of people in Christianity, they'll equate this verse to that Jesus and God are the same person. It says, if ye had known me, meaning if you know who I am, what I'm coming to do, and the spirit that I'm in, ye should have known my Father also. Why? Because my Father is the one that drew you to me. So you already know the Most High by knowing me, because the Lord drew you to me. And everything in me I made manifested by my Father. And from henceforth ye know him, meaning the Most High, and have seen him. How do you see the Most High? By his light. The light is Yahawashi. Anything full of light is the Most High, man. Hey, the elect, we see the Most High in brothers, man. Right? And the Lord said, let me get the classic in the book of Genesis. See, you'll never see the Most High. You're not going to see the Most High in the kingdom. There's never an account where the Most High got off his throne. Anything that you do read about the courts of heaven, right, in Sirach 24, Amos the 9th chapter, right, so many precepts when you go to the book of Revelation, that's all talking about Yahawashi. See, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords is Yahawashi, but the Most High, right, there's no account of the Most High leaving the spirit world. You see, the heavens are even unclean in the Lord's sight. So why would the Most High leave something that doesn't sin to manifest himself in a land full of children of men? See, the children of men are going to be the nations. You're still going to have uncleanliness on earth. You're still going to have sin on earth. You're still going to have wickedness on earth, but just not by Israel. These nations are still going to go off. They're going to sin. So they have to be taught the law of Jacob, like you read about in the book of Micah, the 4th chapter. And every man shall leave his idols. They have to leave their idols, or we're going to beat them. Right? This is the book of Genesis, chapter 9, and verse number 6, the classic. Right? It says, whosoever sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God he made man. So the closest thing we could get to the Most High will have to be the most perfected thing that we've ever known, which is Yahawashi. That's why he's saying this. Right? Let me go back to it. It says, if ye have known me, you should have known my Father also. And from henceforth ye know him and have seen him. Philip saith unto him, Lord, show us the Father, it sufficeth us. Meaning you getting real deep, just show us the Father. It was even a count where the apostles, said, stop speaking to us in parables. Let me get this quick precept. This is John chapter 16 and verse 25. Right? Yeah, I'm gonna pull it in on this. John 16 and 25. Let me get this real fast. It's the book of John, chapter 16. Because that's all the Lord would speak was parables. It's the book of John, chapter 16. I'm going to start at verse 23. And in that day, you shall ask me nothing. Meaning because they want the breakdown. They want to figure out the spiritual things the Lord is speaking. See, in the days to come, we're not going to have to ask the Lord anything. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it you. Hitherto ye have asked nothing in my name, ask, and ye shall receive, that your joy may be fulfilled. These things have I spoken unto you in proverbs, meaning secrets, similitudes, mysteries. But the time cometh when I shall no more speak unto you in proverbs, but I shall shew you plainly the Father. What does that mean, show you plainly the Father? Does that mean Yahawashi is going to open up the door and going to lead you right into the temple to see the Most High? No, you see the Most High through Yahawashi. So Yahawashi is going to come a time where you're going to know fully him. He's not going to speak in part. He's not going to speak a parable. You're going to fully understand the word made manifest. He's going to show you plainly the Father. That's what that's really going into. Because what's the context? Him. He's the one hiding things, speaking parables. It says, when I shall no more speak unto you in proverbs. So the proverbs and the secrets are hiding of the understanding of the Most High. Because like Yahawashi even said himself, my doctrine is not mine. That's John the 7th chapter. But him that sent me. But I shall shew you plainly the Father. At that day ye shall ask in my name, and I shall say unto you that I will pray the Father for you. Right? Let me go back to this. Verse 9, Yahawashi saith unto him, have ye been so long with you? Have I been so long with you? And ye have not known me, Philip? So we're diving into the apostle Philip through the Spirit, man. He that have seen me have seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, show us the Father? Believest thou not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me, or else believe me for the very work's sake. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do, shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do. Now, this is a major cut of what a lot of Old Testament only Israelites try to use. Well, how is you going to do greater works than your Lord? Well, how is your Lord saying you're going to be better than him? That's not what this is saying. The greater works are the apostleship, the traveling, the work of God. See, the Lord only did his ministry for 3 years. It was only so much you can do in 3 years. See, the apostles from the time the Lord, was alive that dwelt upon earth, a lot of them were in their late 20s, early 30s, right along this age of the Lord, until their late 60s, right, when they gave up the ghost of a martyr, like Peter, right? Those men, they lived many years to outlive the Lord as he was upon earth. So the greater works are Thessalonica, Corinth, right? Traveling through the Aegean Sea, the different things through Greece. These are the works that shall follow of what the Lord said you ought to do. It says, then these shall he do because I go unto my Father, right? Let me get one more precept on that. But I kind of read it earlier. I kind of jumped the gun, but I'm going to read it again. This is the book of John, right? Chapter 6 and verse 2. And a great multitude, right, followed him because they saw his miracles, which he did on them which were diseased. And Yahawashi went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, right, a feast of the Jews was not. Then Yahawashi lifted up his eyes and saw a great company coming to him. And he said unto Philip, whence shall we buy bread that these may eat? So he put Philip, trying to ask him a question, trying to figure out what's going on. And this he said to approve him, for he himself knew what he would do. And Philip answered, 200 pence worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said unto them, where is a lad here where we had 5 barleys, right, loaves and 2 small fishes, but what are they among so many? Right, so you don't have much on the apostle Philip, but his yearningness to understand the Father, says everything. He may not have understood perfectly what was really going on to the T, right? But nevertheless, through the Spirit, he was on fire for the Lord, man, right? Right, and his name in the Greek is lover of horses, right? I believe we was going into every one of the apostles' names, right, in the Greek, in their meanings and what they're going into. Right, I want to go to the next apostle. Right, you have Simon the Zealot, right, or Simon the Canaanite, or Saint Simon. Right, they say, well, Saint Simon was the Zealot was martyred by being sawn in half. In art, he is often depicted with the saw as he identifying attribute, man. That's a painful way to give up the ghost, man. It was no telling how small those teeth were or how large those teeth were, man, or how long they saw. See, a lot of people think they're going to get a quick death or that death is going to be easy, right? You never know the lot that the Lord is going to have, each one of us in. Right, let's go to the mighty book of Mark. And it's not much on Simon, right, the Canaanite. And it's not that he's a physical Canaanite, as if he's the one African that made it, man. He's the one lip ringing, piss drenching, ashy toe having, sprint. The Africans got dots. Right? He is not an African. Right? Canaanite in the Greek is going to zeal. So a lot of these men were very zealous. They were zealous. These men were on fire. You can see through the spirit of zeal that these men had, right? When they followed the Lord, and you kind of go over these accounts, right? Let's get this real fast in the book of Mark, right? It's the book of Mark, chapter 3 and verse number 18, right? It says, and Andrew and Philip and Bartholomew and Matthew. But like I said, a lot of these men, they have different names when you go into other, books like Matthew. It says, and Thomas and James, the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, and Simon the Canaanite, right? Which is Simon the Zealot, which was zealous. He was a zealous on fire man of the Lord, man. Right? And there's not too much on this man that you could really read about, right? Without going too much into history. Right? Pull this up real fast. Right? Christian Ethiopians claim that he was crucified in Samaria. Right? However, Moses and Clareton write that he was martyred. Right? Nevertheless, another martyrdom, right, that happened. Last of all, you have Saint Thomas, right? The Apostle Thomas through the Spirit. You see, Thomas was on fire for the Lord too, but he lacked a little faith, when it mattered. Not that that's going to overall his main spirit, because if a brother kind of fast forward a lot of my things that I've done in my life and it's true, and judge me completely off of those matters, God forbid that that'll be my name. But we can't negate the Lord choosing these accounts to be written for our learning's sake also. So although these men fell, they still were handpicked and elected and purged from their iniquities and sins. Let's go to the book of John, chapter 20. Right? We're going to dive into it. Right? It's the book of John, chapter 20, right, in verse number 24. Right? And Thomas, were also called Didymus. Right? It says, but Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Yahawashi came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, we have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails. That's a very emotional statement to make, right? I have to see it for myself. And unless I see the print of the nails and put my finger into the print of the nail and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. So you don't want to have a perpetual name for not believing. You don't have to see everything to believe it. And after 8 days again, his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. See, the Lord stayed 40 days upon the earth. Why? That he may show infallible proof. Like you read about in Acts chapter 1 and verse 3. Even of his own disciples. So the Lord could have just went up into the third heaven. Right? And it was what it was. But it says this in Acts. This is Acts chapter 1 and verse 3. And to whom also he showed himself alive after his passion by many inflatable proofs, right? Meaning what? He teleported. He was this man, and you look back, is that the Lord? That is the Lord. And it wasn't his visage and form. He did a lot of things to show forth his glory and for men not to believe. He didn't have to come and comfort Thomas through the Spirit the way he did, right? He could have been left with unbelief. It's mercy. It says being seen of them 40 days. And it's not an account of how many things the Lord did those 40 days. What he showed them. That's not written. The miracles he did. Right? It says, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of heaven. They still like the kingdom of God. I mean, we don't know what the Lord was speaking about. The Lord could have been building them up, telling them their lots, man. You're going to die this way, or you're going to die this way. We don't know what the Lord was saying. Right? He could have been telling how the pain it was when he was getting crucified, how much strength and belief he had to have in the Most High. Right? He could have been showing them mysteries. He could have been breaking down the law. This is what this really means. This was talking about me. Right? It says, and being assembled together with them, commanded them that they should not depart from Jerusalem, but wait for the promise of the Father, which saith he, ye have heard of me. For John truly baptized with water, but ye should be baptized with the Holy Ghost not many days hence. Right, let me go back to it. Right? It says, and after 8 days, again, his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Yahawashi, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst and said, Peace be unto you. Then said he to Thomas, Reach thither thy finger, and behold my hands. And reach thither thy hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. So the Lord already knew the statement that he made. He said, Look, don't be faithless, but believe. And Thomas answered and said unto him, My Lord and my God. So, I mean, the end lot of all the apostles are to cleave unto the Lord. See, it's not really important how you start. Paul started off. We started off. I started off. A lot of men started off. Hey, Jeremiah could have went astray, man. I would no longer speak, right, in the name of the Lord. That's a bold thing to say. Let me say that and it's recorded. That'd be all over Israel tomorrow, man. Hey, but as soon as I made that video, it could be a fire burning on my heart, man. And I was worried with forbearing and I could not stay. So whatever lot or things you have done, you can't really be judged until the day of the Lord, man. Men can rebuke you, admonish you, reprove you, but the true, you understand, judgment is of Yahawashi Yahawashi. Right? And it's beautiful that, this is written, even though, he was faithless, that the Most High, through Yahawashi, gave him, mercy to be able to comfort him. Yahawashi said unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. And many other signs truly did Yahawashi in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book, right? And we don't know what those things are, right? I mean, he could have did a lot of things, man. He could have did a whole lot of things that our imaginations could just run wild. But these are written, right? These are the chief things. Like you have the Song of Songs, right? You have the parables that Solomon wrote, like you read about in 1 Kings, the 4th chapter, right? And the Song of Songs. You have his top parables and the things written. So you have these top accounts that the Most High has put in the scriptures for us to know of Yahawashi. But these are written that ye might believe that Yahawashi is Christ. So a lot of these accounts that are written is for us to believe that Yahawashi is Christ. Not to just see all of the miracles. This is not just a book of miracles. See, this is a book that we may believe in Yahawashi. That's why these accounts that are written, they touch your soul. You don't want to just read about war. What if all of the Bible was just about war? That's all it was. How can somebody get built up for the end days? How can you be built up with faith? How can you be built up strong in the spirit to be able to understand, what to do when your marriage is down? When somebody close to you gives up the ghost and falls asleep. See, it's written that we may believe, have faith, and be built up in Yahawashi Yahawashi. And that believing ye might have life through his name, huh? Right? So, I mean, the 12, they, like I said, they were on fire. They were doing the work of the Most High. All of them clave and they followed the Lord whatsoever he went. Right? I'm going to get this quick precept, through the spirit. Right, as we go and wind it all the way down. This is the book of Romans, chapter 12, right? And I'm going to start at verse 6. I'm going to start at 5. So we being many are one body in Yahawashi, and every one members one another, having then gifts differeth according to the grace that is given to us. Whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the portion, right? Proportion of faith. Or ministry, let us wait on our ministering. Or he that teacheth on teaching. Or he that exhorteth on exhortation. And he that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. He that ruleth with diligence. He that sheweth mercy with cheerfulness. So all of these gifts is for what? It's the body of Yahawashi. And these men, which are the 12, they make up the government of Israel, right? Let's go to the mighty book of Revelation, the 21st chapter. Right? They make up the body, in the temple. They're really the foundation. We're stones, but they're really walls. If you have ears to hear, right? Yahawashi is the foundation. The 12 are Yahawashi is the foundation, the chief foundation. And the 12, like it says in Revelation, there are 12 foundations of the temple. And we make up the stones. And they're the pillars and the strength of each foundation, which are the 12 that make up the body of Israel. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 21. Get this quick precept, right? In verse number 12. And he had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates. Now, you don't want to get too literal when you read the book of Revelations, the 21st chapter. Even though a lot of it is literal, it's more spiritual than anything. Why? Because let me get this quick precept. That's proved that. Let's go to the mighty book of Isaiah, the 60th chapter. Right? It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, and verse number 11. Therefore, thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and their kings may be brought. So this is going into prophecy in the end, and it's going into the gates, right? Being established, being open, and never being shut. Because what do gates represent? Protection, leadership. You understand? Gates being men. Like the Lord said, I love the gates of what is it? I love the gates of Judah more than all of the gates. Love the gates of, let me see, I don't want to paraphrase it wrong. In the book of Psalms, the Lord loveth the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. So Zion is Jacob. What do you mean? Meaning the Lord loves the gates, meaning the strength, the leaders, right? The kings, the righteous ones, the prophets, men that make up protection. See, Peter is a gate. Like these men, they force a barricade of protection for the nation. When any matter needs to be established or handled, you go up to judgment, meaning you go up to the 12. The Lord loveth the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Who are all the dwellings of Jacob? Ray, Leonard, Bob, Man. They're just in Jacob. Yeah, they're Israelites, but the Lord loves that higher class. No, not that the Most High has respect of persons, but he loves a spirit of wisdom, right? He loves the elect, man, that draw nigh to him more than all the other ones that's just hanging around, man. Let's go get the mighty book of Psalms, chapter 122. Right, this is another precept going into the 12. And I want to go back to Revelation. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 122. Our feet shall stand within thy gates. There go gates again, O Jerusalem. Right, our feet is talking about the elect. Shall stand within thy gates, meaning thy palaces and the kingdom. Jerusalem is builded as a city that is compacted together. Whether the tribes go up. Why are the tribes going up to the city? Aren't we going to dwell in the city? It says, whether the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, unto the testimony of Israel, to give thanks unto the name of the Lord. Meaning we have to come and appear before the Lord. The tribes are going up. The city is builded. For there are set thrones of judgment. It's not talking about Solomon's porch. Why does it say thrones with an S? Because there are going to be many men sitting on thrones in the kingdom. That isn't just going to be Yahawashi. Peter's going to have a throne. That's written. It's in the book of Matthew, the 19th chapter, verse 27 all the way down. And I'm going to go back to that precept, right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 19, and verse number 27. Then answered Peter and said unto him, behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have thereafter? What are we going to have therefore, man? Look, I done gave up everything. What are we getting out of this? And Yahawashi said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So in Psalms, it's a deep, dark parable where the tribes are going up to the thrones of judgment. David is saying in the spirit, just like Yahawashi saying in the spirit, just like John the Revelator saying in the spirit, it's all moving in the same spirit. Right now, it's not going to come out and say Philip, Thomas, Demeus, right? All of these men have their own thrones of judgment, but that's why it's written, in a parabolical form. It says, for their set thrones of judgment, the thrones of the house of David. Not that all of these men physically came from the house of David, right? There's no proof that we could solidify in depthly to pull each precept to all the lineage to trace it back to David. But David represents the elect. He represents an everlasting throne and a covenant made by salt that the king, it will be a king on his throne forever, right? It says, let me go back to Matthew. It says, and every one that forsaketh houses, many men forsook houses, man, right? They forsook jobs or brethren. I forsook a lot of my brethren, man, in the world. I mean, I had brothers I knew for 20 years, 15 years, 10 years I grew up with. I never had no new friends I was in the world. The people I knew in the world, I knew for 15 years. I knew their mothers, their fathers, right? It says, or sisters. You may have to forsake your sister or father, right? Or mother or wife or children or lands, or so like for my namesake shall receive an hundredfold and shall inherit everlasting life, man. Many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first, right? And that's spiritual, man. So you want to make sure that you're not just the first in this light, in this walk. You're the first in this lot. You're the first one to get this and get that. And it's good to be patient. The Lord even said in the book of Proverbs, I believe that's Proverbs 19, going into the prince being put down in your place. Right? Let me see. It might be 25. That's what I want. Proverbs 25. The Lord said the first shall be last. Right? Let me see. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 25, and verse 6. Put not forth thyself in the presence of the king. Meaning, don't kick down a king's door and chill with the king, man. You can't do that. You got to wait your time. You got to be patient. You can't join yourself with the king. Here you are putting yourself with the king's presence and stand not in the place of great men. Why? Because what do great men are going to do? If elders are talking and somebody just walks up, oh man, what are y'all talking about? Look at the elder man. What the elder man up to? Right? What's going to happen? It says, for better is it that it be said unto thee, come up thither. So it's better for the Lord to say, you know what, you've endured. You've been last all your life. You never had nothing. You always been weeping. Now it's time for you to have joy. You always been having nothing and poor. Now it's time for you to be rich. Better is it for somebody like a king and a prince and a noble to say, come up thither, meaning come up on the panel, the throne, than that thou shouldest be put lower in the presence of the prince whom thine eyes have seen. So you don't want to come up to a prince and sit right next to him, man. He's going to say, get out of here, man. Who are you? Flee. Security. Guards. Right? You don't just do these things. You got to be, uplifted by the hand of Yahawashi. That's why, right? It says, but many that are first shall be last. You want to be last of all. Like the Lord said, I rose up last of all. Like the grape gatherers, right? In the book of Sirach. Last of all. Let me get that real fast in Sirach. That's not what I want. It is what I want. It's Sirach 33 and 16. It says, I waked up last of all, as one that gathereth after the great gatherers. By the blessing of the Lord I profiteth. So you wake up what? Last, man. Right? And that's spiritual because this world, everybody's first. Everybody busting open the line to be first. They want to be served first. Everybody's out for once and lust and me and idol worship and now and now and now. The patient in the spirit, right? It says, I waked up last of all, right? As one that gathereth after the grape gatherers by the blessing of the Lord. I profiteth and tried my wine press and gathereth the grapes. So the wine press and gathereth the grapes is Israel. Israel is the pleasant vine of the Lord. See, that's the Lord's favorite tree, the vine tree, man. And who's likened unto the vine tree? Judah. See, the Lord said in Judah is God known, right? His name is great in Israel, right? Let me go back to the book of Revelations, right? Chapter 21. It says, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and the names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. So you do have Ezekiel 48. You do have allotted lands. You do have portions. And the portions, even in Ezekiel, the 47th chapter, that are going to be distributed, right, to Israel and the eunuchs and the strangers afar off, the latter end of Ezekiel 47. On the east, there are three gates, right? You have 3, 3, 3, 3, right? On the north, three gates. On the south, three gates. And on the west, three gates. Everybody's going to have a portion, just like it was in the days of old. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations. Now, the wall are the chief men, because normal men and men that make up a nation are stones, right? And then you have a wall, a very strong portion of a nation. Let me get this quick precept, right? In Ephesians chapter 2, in verse number 20. And are built upon the foundation of the apostles. So what's built on the foundation of the apostles? The church. Who are the church? The Israelites. And prophets, can't forget them. Yahawashi himself being the chief cornerstone. In whom are the building filthily framed together, growing into a holy temple. So everybody can't be a wall. You know, somebody got to be a stone, right? The Lord said through the hand of the apostle Peter, right? It says, to whom coming as a lively stone. So who are the men of the Lord? They're lively stones. So each stone represents what? A building of a temple. To whom coming as unto a lively stone, disallowed indeed, men but chosen of God and precious. Ye also as lively stones. I mean, it's not a dead temple. We're a lively people. Wisdom is lively. That's the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 7th chapter. The Lord said that wisdom is a lively spirit, right? It even said the daughters of Zion, man. They're lively. Let me get that real fast. Wisdom of Solomon 7, that wisdom is lively. Meaning it moves with motion. It's not dead, right? So these stones in this temple, it's alive, man. It's the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, right? In verse number 22. For wisdom is the worker of all things taught me. For in her is an understanding spirit, holy, one only, manifold, subtile, lively. So wisdom is lively. It's not dead. So these stones, they're moving. They're in the spirit. You understand? So this wall, right, the city had 12 foundations. See, a foundation, right? Real fast. A foundation, I want to go into that real fast, into the Greek. In Revelation chapter 21. Going into that word foundation. Metaphoric, right? A metaphoric sense. You have physical and metaphoric. The foundations beginning, first principle. So who's the beginning? The beginning of the church, beginning of the foundation. We just read it in Ephesians. It's the 12. So the 12 would really have to be the first principles, the beginning of the church, of institution of system of truth. Meaning these men started the church. Yahawashi gave it to Peter, and upon Peter, the church was built. So this, wall of the city having 12 foundations, that word foundation in the Greek, you have to go into it, is an institution, a system of truth, the beginning of something. So that foundation of the 12 is really the 12 apostles on a spiritual level. And in them, the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. So engraved in these 12 foundations are Peter, James, John, and these men make up their thrones, their rulership. You understand? And if he that talked with me had a golden reed to measure the city, and the gates thereof, and the wall thereof. So you have the city, you have the gates, and you have the wall, which is ciphering the classes of Israel. You have the 1/3, you have the gates, which is the strength. You understand, in a wall, like the gates in the wall are symbolically the same, right? And the city lieth fourscore, and the length is as large as a breadth. And the measure of the city with the reed 12,000 furlongs, man. 12,000. So you have 12 foundations times 12, right? 12 times 12, right? Let's get it. 144. 144. So it's really the elect, but it's going into the 12 foundations, and it's going into the whole, right, measurement of Israel, right? The length and the breadth and the height of it are equal. And that's spiritual too, because we're all of one accord. Everything's perfect in his temple. The height, the breadth, the length, right, the width, and he that measured the wall thereof in 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man that is of the angel. And the building of the wall of it was as jasper, and the city, right, was pure gold. Who's likened unto gold being purged, right? We are. Who is the city? The city lieth within us. That's the book of Luke, chapter 17 and 20. It says, like unto clear glass. So the gold we have is dim, it's muggy, it's not strong, right? It says, and the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third uh chalcedony, Salaka for the pronunciation, and the fourth an emerald. And the fifth, right? We're not going to necessarily read, this whole thing, but when you get down, I want to go to verse 22. And I saw no temple therein. That's not literal. For the Lord God Almighty, right, and the Lamb are the temple of it. It's not saying we're not going to have a temple in the kingdom physically. Keep in mind, this whole thing is going into what? The body of Israel, the city. Within this city, which makes up the temple, I saw no temple in it. Why? Because the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it, right? So Yahawashi is going to dwell in the midst of us, right? It says, because like when you have a temple, you have the outer court, right? You have the 11 braves, you have what they will call steps before you can get to the holiest of all, right behind that temple. And the city had no need of sun, neither of the moon, that's not literal, to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it. And the Lamb is the light thereof. Talking about the menorah, right, in the midst, and the strength and the fire and the altar in the midst of all Israel. our sacrifices and our spirit that we're going to dwell in the kingdom is not how it was manifested on earth physically by a mortal man lightning. Yahawashi is going to forever burn in our heart, our spirit, our mind, and he's going to forever rule, right? And we're never going to go off, right, again. And the nations, right, of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it, right? So let's go to the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 3. Right, let me get this closing precept. Right, it's the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 3, and verse number 2. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die, for I have not found thy works perfect before God. Right, so continue to examine yourself, man. Right, and fight and do the work of the Most High. It says, remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. So continue to watch, right? Stay fervent in the spirit, man. Cry out to the Most High. Read, go over these precepts, right? Continue to do the work, right? Don't diminish yourself. If you diminish yourself, you're falling away slowly. When you fall away slowly, you're never going to realize you're falling away until it's too late, until you no longer care and the fear of the Most High is withdrawn from you. So continue to do the works of the Most High, continue to read, continue to make your body a living sacrifice, and be a light to them in a dark place. With that, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, by Hashem Mashiach, wa Malak Yahushua. Shalom.